Chapter 848. Lin Jingwei didn't know when Gaoya became a swordsman, but it just so happened that one hadn't had time to play games for a long time. The four people in the dorm were Master C, Grandpa C, and Gaoya, so they could form a five-man team. Chun Guang's rank in the main account group was too high, and he couldn't form a team with these people. He had no choice but to register a new account. He hadn't done a live broadcast for a long time, so he decided to do it again. He changed the name of his room to the strongest thigh in the universe. One god brings four legs to roam the fish pond. Although the name of his room was extremely arrogant, it had to be said that no one actually dared to criticize him. The reason was simple. It wasn't certain if there were aliens in the universe, but Dota fish ponds should only exist on Earth. In addition, before he was defeated by others, he was indeed the world's #1 player. His achievements weren't just for show. They were witnessed by countless players all over the world. In the Throne Challenge, which he paid for with his own money, he stepped on the heads of top experts and young geniuses one after another, proudly ascending to the top. There was no doubt about it. Although he was a god in this version, with the end of the invitational tournament, there was a big earthquake in the Dota professional circle. There were new geniuses rising, and there were also players like Tony Big Moo and Sorceress retiring. The era of the strong was always changing. However, no one could ignore the absolute dominance that Chun Guang showed in the Throne Challenge. He wasn't a professional player, but he was better than professional players. Therefore, it wasn't wrong to say that he was the strongest thigh in the universe. Xiao Tsong, who was busy promoting the online live broadcast of the World Language Conference, suddenly heard that Chun Guang suddenly started a live broadcast, and he was overjoyed. Sure enough, this bro's ideas seemed to come from slapping people's thighs. He seemed to be very casual, but in fact, he was quite serious. He didn't even need me to say anything, and he opened his own live broadcast room to warm up. That's awesome, brother. It wasn't a waste of my 30 million staircase price. Xiao Tsong happily rushed to Chun Guang's live broadcast, wanted to see what this most unprofessional Chinese streamer was broadcasting. 30 seconds later, he couldn't take it anymore. F***CK, the invincible brother Guang. To think you would have such a day. Retribution. The current Chun Guang was miserable, truly miserable. One god carrying four legs looked very domineering and comfortable, but in fact the pressure was quite great at times. Although it was a smurf account, the opponents he was matched with were basically all good players. The difficulty of winning was not just for show. Among the other four teammates, 3 of them were experienced fishermen who were worth 4,000 points, but one of them was a beginner who had just gotten his hands on a deep-sea lanternfish that were worth 800 points. Their losses were as accurate as clockwork. Wherever they went, they would die. Elegant corpses were left all over the map. That was not all. What was even more infuriating was that when she fought in a group, she relied on shouting the entire time. However, she only shouted and did not press the keyboard. Unfortunately, they didn't know which brand of chili sauce she bought her mic from, and it would explode at the slightest provocation. Chun Guang and the others couldn't bear it. Their ears were ringing from her roars, but they didn't see her use any skills. Save him. Help! Help! Lin Jingwei, save me. He's coming. Sheep him. Sheep, sheep, sheep. Which skill is sheep? It's the pig transformation. You pig. He's a pig. Why did you say sheep? That's because Daddy Blizzard didn't give us the copyright. All right, the 3 of us will give it to him together. It was supposed to be a great opportunity to counterattack, but Elegant did not use any skills before she died. Lin Jingwei, who had risked his life to help, was killed. Chun Guang, who had landed from the TP position, was also hit in the head by 10,000 skills from the 5 opponents. He was unable to move until he died. Everyone was soaked in the spring together, and Chun Guang finally had time to explain. In fact, with his reaction speed, he could have dodged the opponent's stomps. However, he was stunned by Elegant's deafening explosion mic. His hand shook, and the clone axe was released too early. Then, his face was covered in fireworks. The bullet screen immediately took off. Brother Almighty, this is what you get. Bringing a girl is going to get what you deserve. Previous poster. I think this girl is Brother Almighty's classmate's girlfriend. I don't care. He deserves it if he's brought by a girl. Pigeon King has regressed. He would never have made a mistake like dodging and stomping before. Who told you to become a pigeon? You deserve it if you don't practice for 3 days. Using such a crappy mic to shout at a girl's ear. I feel like anyone who tries will die. F***CKU. He has too many die-hard fans like you. That's why he's so arrogant. He's been pigeon dodging for more than a month. He's always messing around and doing nothing. We fans have all abandoned him. That's right. Kill Pigeon King. The admin has banned the gift spammer. You guys are so passionate about it. Are you going to watch Brother Almighty's competition later? Yes. Why not? Watch him embarrass himself? No, I'm his hardcore fan. Brother Almighty is invincible. I'll love you even if you die. Weren't you trolling him just now? You could be a fan too. Who asked him to be so good at dying? In any case, I don't care what he broadcasts. I like watching him win and watching him act cool. Previous poster. I also like Brother Almighty's style. I especially like seeing people annoyed by him, but unable to get rid of him. They even get pissed off by him. But I'd rather watch him play the piano. I'm a music student. I admire him the most. Is the one who's learning the piano a girl? Yeah, so what? Do you know each other? No. My body is reserved for my beloved brother Guang. Don't. Look at how he's been dying recently. How can Pigeon King deserve this? Girl, you have to treat him like this. Xiaozong was amused by the cuteness of Chun Guang and his classmates in the live broadcast. Looking at the bullet screen that was flying all over the screen and looking at the endless GIFs in the live broadcast room, as well as the number of viewers that had already reached more than 800,000 and was approaching 1 million, she felt very happy. Chun Guang's live broadcast room was different from other live broadcasts. The other live broadcasts all displayed the popularity value. It looked like a few 100,000 to 1 or 2 million was very impressive, but that was actually a figure that the live broadcast platform had tampered with. It would be good if the real number was 1/5. Displayed as the popularity value was clearly telling others that it was not the number of viewers, but a popularity parameter weighted by the number of viewers and other indicators. Don't accuse me of falsifying the popularity value. In the huge Bamboo live broadcast, and even in the entire live broadcast world, Chun Guang's live broadcast room that directly displayed the real number of viewers was probably the only one. Now, it looked like there were more than 800,000 viewers, but that was because Chun Guang had only started for about 10 minutes. Didn't you see that the number of viewers increased by more than 10,000 to 20,000 per minute? When the news of his live broadcast broke out in other information channels, such as Weibo, there would be another round of blowouts. Judging from Xiaozong's professional experience, if Chun Guang were to broadcast for 4 hours, the number of viewers would definitely easily exceed 3 million. This was just a sudden idea of his to start a live broadcast without any warm-up effect. This was the power of China's strongest live broadcast host, Chun Guang. This was also the reason why, when a celebrity broadcast, the number of viewers could easily crush ordinary live broadcast hosts. Because these celebrities had their own appeal, and what they could bring to the live broadcast platform was more traffic that originally drifted away from the platform. For example, the current live broadcast audience, for the time being, the game fans had the upper hand. After all, many of the audience on the live broadcast platform were originally game players, but as time passed, his fans from other aspects would come one after another. The most amazing thing about Chun Guang was that no matter what he did, it was at the top level. It didn't matter, even if people didn't understand the game, they could always see him pressing his opponents to the ground and rubbing them, right? In addition, the biggest advantage of these diverse fans was that those who liked music came to Bamboo live broadcast because of Chun Guang. After Chun Guang went off the live broadcast, they might go to the singing area. Those who liked darts, wrist exercises, or racing might go to the sports area and watch the sports programs that Bamboo had the copyright for. In short, he was a phenomenal online celebrity. Although the time of his fame was extremely short, it was not by chance, but because he had the ability that exceeded the limits of human beings. As long as he wanted to be popular, it was inevitable that he would be popular. He had a variety of skills, and while he brought himself a large number of fans, his entire platform could also hitch a ride on his car, producing a chain reaction. Crazy money was never lost on him. It was only a steady profit. Although this master was called Pigeon Wong Guang by others, it didn't mean that others liked this kind of thing. The bullet screen was right. Compared to other anchors, Chen Guang was really a super-powered pigeon. As a live anchor, he was completely unprofessional. Except for the time when he was breaking through the Sword Tower stairway, he had never broadcasted consecutively. Every time he broadcasted, it was either he had some big action or he would have a sudden burst of activity like he was crazy, and then he would run away after broadcasting. Xiao Tsong gritted his teeth in hatred, but he couldn't do anything to him. Not only could he not deduct his salary like other live anchors, but he also had to coax him and treat him like a master. Regarding Chang Guang's pigeon, not only was Chang Xiaotsong particularly helpless, but his various live broadcast fans were also exceptionally distressed. It was not the first time that the black screen sent the Buddha jumps over the wall. But then again, although this guy was a super-powered pigeon, his popularity was getting higher and higher. Just like today, he broadcasted without any warning, without any pre-hype, and his popularity was still so high. Therefore, Xiao Tsong was simply overjoyed. He was even more looking forward to the live broadcast of next week's competition. Brother Guang is awesome. I'm relying on you to fly. Xiao Tsong was amused. Her fingers started to slide, and she kept sending the gifts to him. The Buddha jumps over the wall soup was thrown out. In just 5 to 6 minutes, he had spent 200,000 yuan on Chen Guang's live broadcast. Whether the gifts he gave to others were real money or data created by the backstage, it depended on the benevolent and the wise. But Chen Guang's live broadcast was different. The live broadcast platform did not take a single cent, but Chen Guang got all of it. This meant that Xiao Tsong had directly spent 200,000 yuan on Chen Guang in these 5 minutes. Chapter 849. What's worse was that little Tsong didn't even get a word of thanks from Chen Guang. Chen Guang was completely immersed in the battle. Principal Chang gave Pigeon King so many gifts, but Pigeon King didn't even thank him. How cold. That's because he's Brother Almighty. Speaking of which, although I don't play this game, why do I keep laughing at their jokes? Me too. I didn't expect Brother Almighty to be so good at crosstalk. Just like that, the God in 4 Legs crosstalk team debuted. 4 hours later, Chen Guang swore that he would never do such a stupid thing again. If he didn't experience it himself, he wouldn't understand how difficult it was for Wen to train him with weights. This showed that Miss Wen was really strong. She didn't even have a golden finger like the world in a cup. She had to rely on her own strength to bring him, who used to be a deep-sea fish with 3,000 points, into the 5,000-point team. As the saying goes, a rat's poop can spoil a pot of soup. Even if the matchmaking system in Dota Tower was adjusted according to the average level of the team, no one could withstand a perfect 6th player, Gao Ye. He was the one who reacted in time and blocked Gao Ye and the other idiots. Only by turning off the mic and listening to music 1v9 did he manage to secure 4 consecutive victories. Thank you, little pink bamboo from Dream Listening Snow. Thank you, I'm cute, I'm the prettiest baldy. Damn, Xiaotsong, I have hair now. Hurry up and change this exclusive gift to long hair. Thank you, weak chicken from Lemon Sauce. As Chen Guang prepared to go off the stream, he gave the most gifts to the person who sent him the most gifts and thanked the fans who sent him gifts. Yo, brother Xiaotsong, you're learning for free? On the other side of the computer, Xiaotsong was furious. I've already sent you 200,000 yuan. Didn't you see that I'm a #1 fan this week? And I'm learning for free? Are you blind? In addition, the viewers in the live streaming channel also realized that when this *TCH chose to thank his fans, he actually chose to thank them all with names that looked like girls. As for the male fans, he didn't even look at those who sent Buddha jumps over the wall. Brother Almighty is so cheap, but I like it. Brother All-Rounder, I'm also a female fan. Come, an F*CK me. Go away, you homo upstairs. That's what I like about him. Brother is steady. I really don't understand what you guys like about him. He doesn't even thank you for the gifts, and he only wants female fans. Damn idiots. Clown. Chen Guang continued. Brothers, I'll end my broadcast here for today. See you guys later. Thank you everyone for your gifts. Don't forget to watch my match next week. Yo, I caught a shotgun. Directly block the IP. Brother Little Chong, this setting of yours is not good. The longest duration is only 36 months. Why don't you make it 30 years to be a real man? Whoosh. Once again, it was godly. Blocking IPs was just so useful, killing a whole bunch of them. Although Shout Song felt a little heartache, the haters in the studio were also popular in bullet screen comments. However, old Master Guang, who wanted to earn money and not serve the haters, was calm about this. He didn't want the popularity of the haters, all right? You only know how to scold and lead the way. You don't know how to send gifts. Not cute at all. After ending the broadcast, he opened the back end to take a look. Including the 200,000 from Shout Song, he had actually received another 500,000, 600,000 in gifts in just one night of broadcast. How would he accept this? What did the old man do to deserve such love from everyone? Therefore, he went on Weibo and posted another message. Brothers and sisters, brother doesn't lack money anymore. Everyone, don't send gifts like this. It's better to use this money to buy more delicious food. In the end, his Weibo post was bustling with activity again. The comment with the most likes was this one. Brother Almighty, everyone thinks that you're going bankrupt. These gifts of ours are for you to make a comeback in the future. Chen Guang hated this comment to the core. I don't want fans like you. These people clearly think that I'm giving money away by messing around. Are you still my fan? Forget it. This young lady said it better. How could Chen Guang lose? I grew up watching his show. He has never lost before. It's the same this time. It's probably like this. If you don't say that last sentence, it's much more pleasing to the eye. However, not all of them were mocking him. There would always be people in this world who knew what was good for them. Chen Guang felt the most comfortable listening to such flattering words. Relying on the priceless advice from these unreasonable Supreme fans, Chen Guang lay on the upper bunk in the dormitory room that he hadn't slept in for a long time and fell into a deep sleep. On the other end, Xiao Tsong was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth. In the 4 hours of live broadcast today, the peak number of people online had exceeded 5 million. In the end, the bullet screen was so fierce that it was impossible to watch. The entire screen was white, just like the snowflakes displayed on old televisions when there was no signal. Seeing this, Xiao Tsong had no choice but to activate the bullet screen distribution that he had been preparing to do, but hadn't made up his mind to do so. According to the end ID of the registered users, the bullet screen was divided into 5 streams. This was barely able to maintain the characteristics of the bullet screen live broadcast. Other than that, the number of fans in Chen Guang's live broadcast room had slowly increased from 3.7 million to 3.9 million. Tonight, it had increased by another 500,000, reaching an outrageous 4 million, looking down on the entire country. It was still the same old saying. The majority of his fans were real fans. There were basically no bots. Even the number of registered users in Bamboo had increased by hundreds of thousands. Nowadays, the bubble of the live broadcast industry was gradually bursting. Even Xiao Tsong's own platform had a scandal of unpaid wages. The growth of users had also reached a bottleneck. Invincible live streamers like Chen Guang, who could get a bunch of registered users in one live broadcast, were simply existences akin to saviors. They allowed Bamboo platform to maintain a high growth rate, even though the industry as a whole wasn't doing too well. Speaking of which, Brother Guang, don't you still have an environmental politics exam tomorrow? You're dragging us to play games today. Are you a real man? Lin Jingwei abruptly said while the chat was going on. Chen Guang picked up the Azure Starry Sky app and waved it. Sorry, I've already booked full mark for tomorrow. Thank you. You're bragging. Bai Nyangzi's face was full of disbelief. Chen Guang chuckled. A monk doesn't lie. Old man can get full marks for modern chemistry. What's a mere political science? Xiong'er forcefully added. But you didn't get full marks for chemical theory. Chen Guang. Damn. How did you know? We've checked your student information. Lin Jingwei said faintly. Chen Guang chuckled. You guys won't understand the world of a genius. Lin Jingwei sighed. I don't really understand. The world of a convulsive genius is too complicated. If I didn't know that you had no one to help you cheat other than us, I would have thought that you did it yourself. Chen Guang smiled and thought to himself, what do you know? At noon the next day, the three people in the dorm looked at Chen Guang's shocking full marks on the azure starry sky with their mouths wide open. They were completely speechless. This guy actually got full marks for Introduction to Environmental Impact Assessment. This was a scam subject that was recognized by everyone last semester as easy to pass and difficult to get high marks. Most of the questions were essay questions, and many senior geniuses who tried to get 90 points failed. This guy got full marks without saying a word. Completely unreasonable, facing everyone's confused and admiring eyes. This time, Chen Guang's heart was much calmer. He got full marks with his own ability, so he still had to show off. How about it? Now you know how powerful a genius is? Call me Grandpa, and I'll teach you how to get full marks. F***ck off. Bitch. Goodbye. No matter how envious and jealous these three people were, Chen Guang went to a teaching building with his head held high for the last makeup exam. After showing off, I'll go home and get married. Ahem, I'll go to Yinjing to show off. I'll omit 5,000 years from now. In short, relying on the Environmental Politics Cup special training, he easily passed again. He actually used one of the 10 great artifacts, the Heavenly Holy Grail, to pass the exam. He did not know how the gods in the endless heavenly realm would feel about this. But anyway, Chen Guang himself expressed that he was calm. There was no other way. With faith, he could be so willful. Besides, although failing the exam was a small matter, if he really failed, it would leave a knot in his heart. This was called a psychological shadow, and his thoughts would not be clear. What if it became a demon in his heart in the future? It was written in other people's fantasy novels that understanding one's thoughts was related to one's realm. It was super important. After the environmental politics exam, he was completely free. There were still a few days before the world's language gathering. Suddenly being separated from the warlike rhythm of life, he was not used to it for a while. After thinking about it, he had nothing else to do, so he went back to his rented room to soak in medicine and cultivate. Recently, he had been relying on the natural growth of his inner force to become stronger. He had almost forgotten that cultivating inner force still required meditation and breathing. With a genius like me, I'm already so powerful even if I don't train. If I also meditate, I should be able to be 100 times faster than usual, right? When he walked to the school gate, he was shocked by the crowd of people outside. It turned out that although Tianguang Brokerage was stirring up trouble in Yinjing, there were still some reporters who were not satisfied with only being able to interview Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoyang. They always wanted to interview the main character, Chen Guang. However, due to this brother's unspeakable influence in the media world and the Bourgeois way's previous example, they did not dare to do anything. Although these reporters were very tempted, they did not dare to take action. He did not have any clear statement. Who would dare to forcefully block him like they did to other celebrities? The biggest paparazzi leader in the country had already been sent to jail for him. Large media reporters were afraid of him. Even if they wanted to interview him, they had to make an appointment through Tianguang Brokerage. The small paparazzi who ran around alone could not bear the responsibility of offending him. If he bore a grudge against them, they would basically have to say goodbye to the media industry for the rest of their lives. Therefore, they did not dare to come. Therefore, these people were very painful, very confused, and very bashful. They knew that any word that came out of that person's mouth would be big news, but they did not dare to interview him. This feeling was like countless cats scratching their hearts. It was itchy and painful. This situation lasted until last night, when Chen Guang finally started a live broadcast. Chapter 850. It seemed that although he had only been manipulating Tianguang Brokerage behind the scenes until now, he himself did not seem to be particularly resistant to communicating with the outside world. At least when he was chatting with the bullet screen during the live broadcast, or bragging to his friends who ran a scam shop, he would ramble on about the World Language Conference next week. This meant that it was very likely that he would be interviewed. Now, after these people had this thought, they were like sharp arrows that had been shot from a fully drawn bow. They swarmed toward Wujing University and charged toward it. Fortunately, Gokyo University's campus in Wenxing Town was usually under semi-closed management. These reporters' cars drove to the school gate, but they could not enter. Unlike other places, the reporters were blocked by the school police outside the gate, but they dared not barge in. On one hand, they were trying to find a way to contact the school's leaders. On the other hand, they were trying to find a way to contact Chun Guang through the students in the school. However, it was useless. Those who knew Chun Guang's contact information were only his classmates and a few familiar friends from other majors. They finally found someone, and this guy was quite smart. He was willing to call Chun Guang, but it was impossible for him to give Chun Guang's private number to these people. Therefore, he secretly dialed Chun Guang's number. In the end, the prodigy was in the middle of an exam, and his phone was not turned on at all. Now that the prodigy had finished his exam, he was not in a hurry to turn on his phone. The people who would call him in the past 2 days would definitely be related to the World Language Conference. It doesn't matter who calls. I've eaten a steelyard weight. No one can stop my determination to be pretentious. For the one-line sky statue, I can do anything. Even if I have to go against the world, I will not hesitate. So it's fine if I don't pick up the phone now. What are you doing? Illegal gathering? Chun Guang turned sideways and strolled out of the school gate, which was only slightly open to prevent people from barging in. However, he regretted it in the next second. These reporters did not make much noise, nor did they act recklessly. Just a moment ago, they were still very calm, but now, with a whoosh, they took out their cameras from their bags and aimed them at him. One of the fiercest men held a camera in one hand and rushed forward like a hungry tiger, pouncing on its prey. His index finger pressed down continuously on Chun Guang's big pancake face, and his other hand held a recording pen, stabbing straight at Chun Guang's face. Further away, in the blink of an eye, at least 40 to 50 cameras, recording pens, microphones, and other oddly shaped objects were all aimed at Chun Guang. This scene was like dozens of executioners who were about to lose their jobs, fighting to execute a felon who had committed all kinds of crimes, and whoever shot first would get the prize. Chun Guang wanted to step back, but the quick-witted school police officer behind him quickly stood behind the door, using his body to block Chun Guang. Student Chun Guang, these are all reporters who want to interview you. Can you just let them interview you for a while? I'm going crazy for being annoyed by them. Please help me. It was not easy for the school police officer. 2 or 3 of them struggled to hold on at the gate for more than half an hour. The reporters also threatened to find a certain person from the school administration department to bring them in, and some said that they knew a certain secretary or something. This group of responsible school police officers was in a terrible situation. They were worried that something would happen if they let them in, and they were worried that they would offend someone because of this. It was really like a pig looking in the mirror, not knowing what it looked like. As Chun Guang shielded his brother behind him, the reporter at the front pointed his recording pen at Chun Guang's nostrils. At the same time, the camera in that fellow's hand was still snapping, and the flash was about to hit his face. The guy was still yelling in a muffled voice, "Mr. Chun, what do you think of your company's big move in the World's Language Conference? Are you really as confident as the rumors say?" Instantly, Chun Guang was enraged. "You're an assassin, right? How can you film people like this? Do you want to blind my eyes? Your recording pen is a dagger. If this guy really poked his nose, his strongest body might not be injured, but it was inevitable that he would be unhappy. Of course, the person this guy wanted to interview was him. What if it was someone thinner and weaker? Wouldn't he be injured? What do I think? I'll look left, right, up, down, and I'll look with my eyes open. This is something I have decided, and you ask me what do I think?" Chun Guang pinched his throat and said coldly. At the same time, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed the camera. With a strong pull, he held the camera in his hand, and with the other hand, he grabbed the recording pen with his bare hands. Chun Guang's 5 fingers exerted force, and the SLR camera and the recording pen were turned into various parts and fell from his hands. It was as easy as crushing a piece of tofu. No wonder one could tear the wall with her bare hands in the past. This internal force was very useful. The reporter was instantly dumbfounded, and the people behind him who had been charging forward fiercely also paused. Damn, it was really as explosive as the rumors said. He tore the camera because of disagreement. It seemed that he didn't want to cooperate. What should they do now? The reporters who were originally out of control, because of the sudden appearance of him, were suddenly held in midair. They really didn't know whether to advance or retreat, but they quickly calmed down. Everyone's head seemed to have been poured with ice water. Is there anyone who interviews people like this? Get lost. If others want to ask them one by one slowly. My camera and pen. Chun Guang rolled his eyes. Go to the Lida building and find manager Su Li of Tianguang Brokerage. I will compensate you for the price, okay? Not a cent less. Okay, everyone else, follow the order. Ask one by one. Whoever talks nonsense like this guy, I will smash them all. Originally, Chun Guang was not such an unreasonable person. If you want to ask questions, I am quite free now, and I can also help promote the World Language Club. Of course, it is a happy thing, but this big guy's performance was a bit too much. Teaching him a lesson and letting him remember it was also a merit. Buddy, let's go really. The reporters behind saw that the big guy was still there, and they all began to persuade him. The big guy put on a long face and regretted it. Just now, he was hot-headed and forgot that this person was like a barrel of gunpowder. In the court, he had driven the deputy dean of Wujing University crazy with just a few words. When he unleashed his power, he would not even give face to God. He must have been an idiot. Of course, it was also because he was too arrogant when he was a paparazzi reporter. Generally, other stars were photographed in this way. If others were disgusted with him, they would not really do anything to him. Star artists were also afraid of being slandered, and they did not want to cause trouble outside, and they could not beat them because they were not pleasing to the eye. But Chun Guang was not like this. This guy was a bit crazy. When this person flashed to the periphery, the others stood neatly in front of Chun Guang and looked at him. Chun Guang glanced at the distance and said first, "Let's all stand to the side. Don't block the school gate." "Hey, buddy, I have asked you to leave. Why are you still standing there? You still want to use a mobile phone to film? At most, I will compensate you with a new mobile phone. Come. This time, the big guy turned his head and ran away quickly. Chun Guang also did this on purpose. He did not want to encounter this kind of thing again in the future. This was called killing the chicken to warn the monkey. First, find a most arrogant person and let him suffer heavy losses. In the future, when this matter was spread out, he was in the right, and he could also remind the other reporters, let them know, it is not that I do not want to cooperate with the interview, but you all have to follow the rules. You all cannot make me unhappy, or else I will not cooperate with you all. In this way, I can save a lot of effort in the future. Chun Guang led the crowd to the side, raised his hands and waved. Okay, if anyone has any questions, ask them one by one. Everyone has one question, but I will wait for you all to finish asking. Then I will give you all the answers. If everyone answers, it will take too long, but don't worry, you all will be satisfied with my answers, okay? Also, the scope of your questions is limited to this time's World Language Conference. Don't talk to me about other things. Then I can only have no comment. Mr. Chun, your company invested so much this time. Is it because you are especially optimistic about this World Language Conference? Mr. Chun, even as an investor, you don't need to participate, right? There are many language masters and geniuses from all over the world rushing to Beijing. Do you really want to compete with them in the competition? Where did your confidence come from? There are already many linguism-related professionals commenting on your actions on the internet. How are you going to respond to them? Chun Guang let these people ask first, but he was not in a hurry to answer them. He just stood in front of the crowd with his arms crossed, and every time someone asked a question, he would nod and smile, indicating that he heard it. The reporters were also helpless against this trick of his. Don't just smile, and you are smiling so handsomely. Answer a question. Although these people were unhappy, they had learned a lesson from the previous big guy, and they pinched their noses and accepted it. Actually, Chun Guang did not even listen to what they were asking, and he was trying his best to maintain his composure. The left side of my face is slightly more handsome than the right side. When others take a picture of me, it will be more photogenic if I turn 15 degrees sideways. This time, I will definitely be on a lot of media. Everything else doesn't matter as long as I'm handsome in the picture. Anything else is fine, but my handsomeness and looks can't be let down. Ever since his hair grew out, he had become more confident. When the last person finally finished asking, Master Guang smiled faintly. Is there anyone else who hasn't asked? No, we've asked all of them. Actually, with so many people here, the first 10 or so had already asked almost everything that could be asked, and the scope of the questions was too limited, so there were only so few things that could be asked. The last few people could not even find what they wanted to ask, and they even asked questions like, will you eat roast duck after you go to Beijing? Nodding his head, Chun Guang continued, then I'll start. First of all, everyone must remember to add filters to my photos when you go back. The reporters, F***CK. What the heck is this? Chapter 851. My company has a professional publicity team. We will organize every piece of news about me. When I go back, I will get my team to carefully check everyone's news. Whoever photoshopped me the better. We can sit down and slowly interview them. For the sake of being handsome, I will do anything. This bait is definitely awesome. The eyes of the old reporters lit up. It's time to show off the ability of a professional Photoshop expert. We love shameless celebrities like you the most. Secondly, I believe everyone saw my strength just now. Yes, that's right. To prepare for women, I even went to America to learn boxing from Mr. Bona Pierce. To act as the boxer in this movie, I put in a lot of effort. The reporters, you clearly said that you would only let everyone talk about the World Language Conference, but in the end, you started to promote your movie first. Be reasonable. This isn't a roadshow for your movie. Although we can accept your shamelessness, you can't be this shameless. You beast. Everyone knows that I have invested a lot in this movie, be it in terms of finances or energy. So, I hope that everyone can help me promote it. Everyone replied weakly, all right. Seeing that it was about time, old Master Guang stopped. All right. Let's stop joking around and talk about serious matters. Seeing that he was finally going to talk about the World Language Conference, everyone's spirits were lifted. The big news was coming. He was different from other celebrities who had gone through professional training. When they were interviewed, they might look like they were bragging and chatting a lot, but when they turned around, they realized that they had not said anything at all. They were as slippery as Sandazi and could only force other reporters to deliberately take things out of context to forcefully stir up the hot topic. But Qingguang was not like that. It was just like how he had behaved at the press conference when Qingguang Talent Management was first established. This guy's words did not need to be taken out of context at all. Every word he said was naturally a big news. There's only one reason why I asked Qingguang Talent Management to take part in the World Language Conference. That is to let the whole world know that I am an almighty Superman. An almighty Superman. That is me. I, Chun Guang, am the person who has mastered the most languages in the world. This is not simply mastery, but mastery. All the languages I have mastered are at the same level as other people's mother tongue. Although the total prize pool is as high as 100 million, I will definitely be the champion. So, I will take back the 50 million. Secondly, you asked me what I think about other masters, geniuses, experts, and scholars. I only have one thing to say. I don't see them as opponents at all. Every word they laugh at me now will become a resounding slap on their faces next week. Time will prove whether I'm fishing for fame or on the real deal. All right, that's my answer. Goodbye. After saying that, Chun Guang took advantage of the brief moment when these people were in a daze to turn around and leave, disappearing from the school gate at the speed of light. It's just an interview. You want me to express my stance? How big of a deal is that? He knew that his arrogant attitude would definitely cause a lot of controversy. But it didn't matter. The more disputes there were, the more people would notice the world's language society. This was the attention he needed. He wasn't sure if the upper limit of the one-line divine statue was the same as the heavenly spirit statue, which was more than 52,000. If that was the case, then the effort he had expended this time was like shooting a mosquito with an anti-aircraft cannon. But as the saying went, even a lion would use its full strength to catch a rabbit. What was the difference between a person without a dream and a salted fish? What if it was like the custom-made world in the cup, and the upper limit of the one-line divine statue was 10 times that of the heavenly spirit statue? Then wouldn't he be rich? Anyway, there was no harm in stirring up the topic first. As for the possibility that some people might think that he was too arrogant, it didn't matter at all, because after the World's Language Society ended, everyone would suddenly realize that he wasn't being arrogant. He was clearly keeping a low profile. Even after Chen Guang had walked far away, these dozens of reporters still hadn't reacted. Their minds were buzzing. The person who came to interview Chen Guang for the first time was so moved that his eyes were brimming with tears. The person who came to interview him for the second time had an expression that said, "I knew it, I thought of it." He would never let us reporters down. The ancients didn't lie. As long as they could interview him, they would definitely be able to catch the explosive point. Every word that this guy said, every phrase, was full of juicy news. A walking hot news machine. Brother all-rounder, you are invincible. How shameless do you have to be to say such shameless words that look down on the world? You are clearly declaring that you want to take on the world by yourself in this field. You are issuing a challenge to everyone in the world. Isn't it just learning a foreign language? Do you have to be like this? Then the problem is, how should we publish this news? Should we move it out without changing a single word? Or should we help him polish it a little and adjust his tone to be a little softer and not too arrogant? Everyone present was a veteran in the news media industry. They all understood how terrifying the shock Chen Guang's words would cause once they were out. This guy was too arrogant, too crazy, and simply unreasonable. Damn, I never thought that after being in this industry for so many years, we would actually take the initiative to worry for our interviewee. We felt that his words were too explosive and wanted to change it a little softer. He was so arrogant that even us reporters who were afraid of the world being in chaos were afraid. Many of the veteran reporters felt happy and troubled at the same time. As a reporter, to be able to meet a famous person like the almighty Superman Chen Guang and to be born in the same era as him, it was a pain and a joy. We all knew that this news would be shocking, but it was a little too shocking. We are holding a bomb in our hands, and we are a little panicky. What if we cause trouble for him again and make him unhappy? I heard that this guy is very narrow-minded. The last time Zhuo Wei defamed him, almost all the marketing accounts and media outlets that were involved received a letter from his lawyer. I heard that the hundreds of people in this guy's company have nothing better to do. But they keep an eye on these things. So painful, so conflicted, so scared. Chen Guang did not care about these people's worries. He only cared about throwing a bomb, then returned to his room, closed the door, and tried to meditate according to the requirements of the painting manual. The reporters did not hesitate for long. They immediately took the initiative to communicate with Lu Xiaoyang, the head of the Publicity and Public Relations Department of Tianguang Agency. At that time, the scene of the communication was like this. The reporters first sent the recording of Chen Guang's call to Lu Xiaoyang. "Manager Lu, are we really sending it like this?" Holy **T, as expected of Boss Chen's character. Hearing that, butt-face eyelids twitched. "Wait a minute, let me think it over." Lu Xiaoyang took the recording and went to find the other two reporters. "Lao Fong, Lao Yu, our President Chun is making trouble again. Come and listen to it. Come and listen to it." Fong Tianyu said, "Holy **T. No wonder he is our President Chen's idol." Yu Hong said, "This is exactly what he would say." Lu Xiaoyang said, "What should we do now? President Chun is so arrogant that even the reporters are afraid of him. They don't dare to send it. They asked me if I should polish it and tone it down a bit." Yu Hong and Fong Tianyu looked at each other and rolled their eyes. "You are the head of the media. You have the final say. Why are you asking us?" Lu Xiaoyang said, "What you said makes sense. I'm speechless." Poor butt-face, who knew these two guys were shirking their responsibility, but he could do nothing about it. Forget it. Since CEO Chan said it himself, it's obvious that he really thinks so. Send it. Just send it. Really? Lu Xiaoyang spread out his hands. Of course. Although I don't understand where he got his confidence from, we don't dare to change his words. After that, the hot news articles in their hands were sent out like snowflakes. The almighty Superman's challenge to the world. Chen Guang, no one is a match for me. Brother Almighty, you could just read the bonus. I will take it back later. There's no craziest, only crazier Chen Guang. Is it low-key luxury or arrogant unrestrained? The declaration of the phenomenal genius internet celebrity, Chen Guang, a master all languages, just like other people's mother tongue. This was a very witty young man's headline that was taken out of context. His headline stood out among all the other news articles. At that time, some people said that he was too arrogant. How dare you change your meaning? Are you not afraid of death? He deleted the word all languages from Chen Guang's master all languages. The difference of one word could make a big difference. This young man was also quite afraid. However, he thought that since Chen Guang was so arrogant and he had nothing to lose, he might as well write something explosive. At this moment, no one realized that this was actually a great prophecy. A storm of public opinion swept across the whole of Huaxia and even the whole world. Chapter 852. Butler Guy, a world-renowned linguist, an honorary professor at Oxford University, and the light of wisdom of Turkey, was the first to stand up after seeing Chen Guang's extremely arrogant speech. Not only did he post on his personal social media, but he also directly posted the news to BBC. I have never heard of such an absurd theory. In the long history of mankind, thousands of different languages have been born. Just to record some of the languages that are about to lose their heritage, the global linguists have used all their strength. I don't know what is going on in his head. Mastering all the languages? This is the most unfunny joke I have ever heard in my life. He is insulting all of us. Butler Gay's friend, another pillar of the global language world, the Korean scholar Park Kangdom, who had a wise and far-sighted look on his forehead, said, "The shamelessness of the Chinese celebrity has really broadened my horizons. After all, you don't need to pay taxes for bragging. I don't think you will really appear in the competition." Also, as our scholars have always emphasized, Confucius is a Korean. One of the competition judges, a professor and PhD supervisor at Yenjing University, said, "As one of the judges, regardless of whether Chen Guang is a sponsor or not, I swear that I will be fair and impartial. I will not be disturbed by any outside factors, and I will not condone any academic scandals. Also, Mr. Park, there is no doubt that Confucius is a sage of our country." Although Mr. Doak's words weren't that bad, the latter half of his words were still against Park Kangdom. However, his words hinted that he really didn't think Chen Guang could show any real talent in the World Language Conference. These well-known public figures all over the country and even the world began to attack Chen Guang one after another. Those young busybodies, or young men like the Gokyo University's Foreign Language Institute, didn't sound so good. His face is thicker than the city wall. Chengdu is the most shameless person in history. His face is bigger than the sky. How can he boast like this? I don't care. Everyone, I've already bought the competition tickets. What do you think of the banner I prepared? Is it domineering enough? His shamelessness is unparalleled in the world. Fishing for fame is the best in history. Horizontal scroll, the most despicable Chen Guang. I used to admire him. After all, he's an aviation hero. But this time, I really can't stand it anymore. Goodbye. I didn't want to watch him compete, but this time I'm going to watch it in front of the TV. I want to see how he's going to blow his cover. Similar comments appeared in every corner of the online world. Under Chen Guang's Weibo comments, in various Tieba forums, in countless QQ and WeChat groups, and even in the social circle where Fu Jiebao had just appeared, it was very lively. Apart from that, even in the circle of people in real life, he was still the focus of everyone's discussion during their leisure time, or when they were slacking off at work or school. People would argue about it endlessly, and in serious cases, there might even be a fight over it. Some people criticized Chen Guang, but there were also people who supported him. No matter how arrogant he appeared, those who had been paying attention to him knew that he had never failed before. Although he was a little too arrogant this time, who could be sure that he wouldn't do what he said until he was really defeated in the competition? Therefore, on the internet and in real life, his matter not only filled the screen, but also the ears and eyes of people. In China, the World Language Conference, which didn't receive much attention, had almost become air pollution. It made some people feel annoyed, and their ears got calluses from listening to it. They didn't want to listen anymore, and they didn't want to discuss it with anyone, but they couldn't avoid it. When office workers went home, they were caught by their family to chat. When they went to the office, they were caught by their colleagues to chat. When they finally got rid of this group of colleagues, the company's leaders came again. This time, they had no choice but to chat. Students were caught by their classmates to chat at school, and when they went home, they were caught by their parents to chat. Even when they couldn't stand it and went online, they were still caught by their netizens to chat. Even if they were playing games, the people in the game would start chatting. This group of students who had completely collapsed decided to watch their favorite game streamer's live broadcast, but the streamer was also chatting. It didn't feel good. Xinguang's goal had been achieved. Regardless of whether others liked it or not, he would appear in front of everyone again and again. Although, because of the excessive spamming, his fans didn't increase significantly, and he even gained a lot of haters. But it didn't matter. When the day came to prove himself, these people would naturally come to a realization. They would scream at the top of their lungs. Oh my God! He wasn't bragging. What he said was all true. At that time, these haters would give birth to a large number of fans and worshippers. The more unreasonable he acted now, the more he would be able to dominate other people's topics. With a topic, there would be attention. The more people who cared about the world's language conference, the more people would worship him when he swept across the world. Others laughed at him for being too crazy, but he laughed at them for not being able to see through it. Without informing the new counselor, Xinguang quietly boarded a direct flight to Beijing that night. The hero medal awarded by all the major airlines in the world was that useful. After booking a first-class cabin, he drove to the airport. The leader of the airport personally received him and asked him to park his car in the airport's employee parking lot. He could park there as long as he wanted. In addition, the person in charge of the airport understood that he had been in the limelight recently. Knowing that he wanted to keep a low profile, he even personally acted as a guide and directly led him to the employee passageway. Mr. Chun, although this is a first-class cabin, it's inevitable that other passengers will gossip about you when they arrive. There's an empty seat in the cockpit in front. Do you want to sit there? This person in charge of the airport was really knowledgeable. Xinguang waved his hand. Thank you for your kindness, but forget it. I'm not a pilot today. I'm just an ordinary passenger. How can I sit in the cockpit? It's against the rules. Actually, what he was thinking was that the crappy chair in the cockpit would be like a human shrinking in it. Who would want to sit in it? Besides, I'm not that afraid of people pointing at me. At most, I'll just convince people with virtue and reason. All right. Actually, the person in charge of the airport had already secretly stuffed his nephew into the captain's seat. He wanted to let this kid take this rare opportunity to learn from Xinguang. All right, Mr. Chun, you're going to Beijing to prepare for the competition, right? As the two of them had boarded the plane early, the ordinary passengers could not get in for a while. The person in charge of the airport had nothing to do, so he pulled Xinguang into a conversation. Xinguang nodded. Yes, those people on the internet are really too much. Mr. Chun, I support you. I believe in you. They don't know what's good for them. Oh no, they don't know what's good for them. They have eyes but can't see. Frankly speaking, the person in charge of the airport and Xinguang's age gap was a little big. They really did not have anything in common, so his topic was a little stiff. Xinguang laughed. When I was on the plane, before I really stopped the plane, no one thought that I could really fly a plane. Now, it doesn't matter if I get scolded. After all, geniuses are always not understood. He thought to himself that the people in the civil aviation industry really knew what was good for them. They knew that the old man's specialty was to make the impossible possible. The person in charge of the airport was stunned. Actually, he had lectured his son like this last night when he was talking to his family at home. Humility is a traditional Chinese virtue. Don't learn from Xinguang. His face is too thick. Even people in the civil aviation industry, like us, can't help him blow it away. Now that the person in charge had a personal chat with the person in charge, he realized that this guy was too arrogant. Speaking of which, there was really no way to refute him. From a practical point of view, the difficulty of him winning the competition was no lower than a rookie pilot facing a hopeless situation and eventually landing successfully. I understand the logic, but bro, you're killing the conversation. I still have something to do at the airport. Mr. Chun, why don't you take a break first? Forget it. He was afraid that if he continued the conversation, he would not be able to help but lecture him like an elder. It would be annoying for no reason, so the person in charge of the airport decided to leave. Guang did not make him stay. While the plane had not taken off, he still had time to fiddle with his phone. He took out his popcorn phone and started playing with it. These bastards, they're really scolding me. It's like I dug up the graves of 8 generations of their ancestors. Really, is it necessary? Although he was already mentally prepared, he still got angry every time he saw these messages. He simply stopped looking at the news and opened WeChat to look at the messages. He simply replied to Jin Shuriwe and Jiang Yage. He did not dare to chat too much. He had to turn off his phone when he got back. Xi and Shin also sent him a message, asking him if he wanted to use the authority of the General Administration of Light to make those fleas behave on the internet. Guang righteously rejected Xi and Shin's suggestion. The General Administration of Light is an important tool of the country. How can I use the power of the General Administration for my own selfish interests? I will not do such a thing. You really disappoint me. How can you think like that? Give me your large-scale photos and the 800-word self-reflection letter later. Bah! Recently, the General Administration of Light has incorporated a reclusive sect called Pink Sect. The disciples in this sect are all small and cute girls. The internal energy they practice is a bit strange. When they reach the age of 18, they must find a strong man to help them lose their virginity. Otherwise, their bodies will explode and they will die. Don't say any more. For the country and the people, we have to do our best until we die. Leave this trivial matter to me. I made it up. How can there be such a wretched sect? Goodbye. After closing WeChat, Guang went to look at his messages again. Yo, brother Yang Shi, whom he had not contacted for a long time, appeared again. Guang, are you in Wujing now? I was kicked out by Director Deng again. He insisted that I follow you and tell you the script. I will probably start shooting your scenes next week. I don't think it's necessary, but he insisted that I come. I just got off the plane. Guang quietly replied to the message. Sorry, I'm on a plane to Yanjing. It will take off in about 10 minutes. Yang Shi was speechless. Chapter 853. The other side was silent for a few seconds before he replied. Then I'll buy a plane ticket to Beijing. Guang was happy. Poor brother Yang Shi. Big Beard Deng was torturing him to the point of breaking down. But soon, he couldn't be happy because he received another message from Wu Tong. Dear brother, are you in school? I'm back. I'm back as the bureau chief. I just got off the plane. Come and receive me. Coincidentally, Wu Tong was also transferred back to Wujing today. She was probably on the same flight as Yang Shi. He even said that he should find Sister Wu Tong to improve their relationship and talk about life. He also wanted to see if he could use his authority to help her solve some unsolved cases. In the end, Yang Shi missed out on him, and he missed out on Wu Tong. This was retribution. When he sent the same message to Wu Tong, his mood was much heavier. Sai, I'm flying to Beijing today. I'm on the plane now. Why don't I come and find you when I get off the plane? It's the same if I go to Beijing tomorrow. At this moment, Guang had completely forgotten about Yang Shi, who was intending to fly to Beijing. It's fine. I'll wait for you in Beijing. You're going to the World Language Conference, right? Recently, my colleagues in the bureau have been talking about you. You might have caused a lot of trouble. I'm embarrassed to tell others that I know you. I don't dare to. It's not a great achievement. It's just knowing a little more foreign language. I know you know Tabramulu, a native language. It's not strange to know other languages. But do you really know all kinds of languages like the news said? What? When did I say I know all languages? Guang thought to himself. Although this is the truth, I did not boast about it. Who is it? Leaked the news. Am I sleep-talking? It's written in the news. I'm looking at the headlines. The headline of the news is written in your original words. I know all languages, just like other people's mother tongue. Didn't you say that? Were you taken out of context? Guang was shocked. I thought I was arrogant enough. Who would have thought there would be someone better than me? The guy who wrote this news is a genius. Awesome. He could even compete with Buttface. Then were you slandered? Seeing that Guang did not respond, Wu Tong sent another message. After a brief pondering, Chen Guang replied. I wasn't defamed. The person who wrote that article knows too much, and what he said is the truth. Wu Tong, you're too shameless. If being pretentious is a sin, then you are unforgivable. After chatting with Wu Tong, the other passengers boarded the plane one after another. Switching off his phone, Chen Guang closed his eyes and played dead. Someone recognized him, but seeing that he was sleeping in his seat, looking as though he didn't want anyone to approach him, no one came up to talk to him. He was not sleeping, but trying to sense qi in his body to improve his inner force. It was disheartening. He took the initiative to adjust his qi and sense qi, but the effect of cultivating inner force was not as good as naturally increasing inner force when he was concentrating on something else. Although he was a genius, it seemed that he still had to follow Wenwen's words. Cultivating inner force was, after all, a painstaking process. Even if the stone used for the painstaking process was of a higher quality, naturally smoother, and could even spin on its own from time to time, it still required time. According to Xianqin and Wu Miaoan, he probably had the combat power to threaten Wu Miaoan, who was at the peak of bone strength, but his inner force was still at the beginner level of muscle strength. His physical strength was far superior to inner force. It was like a powerful motor that could only power a 36V car. The inside and the outside did not match, and the outside was far stronger than the inside. Wu Miaoan's words were pleasant to hear. A person like him had the ability to challenge someone of a higher level that would make others envious. But then again, why would I be stupid enough to challenge someone of a higher level? If I wanted to deal with a bone strength expert, it would obviously be easier for me to deal with him after I transformed into bone strength. Wouldn't it be even better if I could bully someone with bone strength with skin strength? Wouldn't it be more satisfying, just like Wenwen, who could use her zone realm cultivation to kill everyone? Why would I have to transform into an unkillable cockroach like Xingya to challenge someone of a higher level? Everyone would prefer to be crushed, all right? Forget it. I'll let Xianqin try to see if she can get some Tian Shan Snow Lotus, 10,000-year-old Chinese knotweed, 100,000-year-old Changbai, ginseng through the channels of the Guangdong headquarters. Otherwise, it'll be something like a snake king's gallbladder that has become a spirit. It was written in martial arts novels that if one ate more of these tonics, they could gain decades of inner force, or even hundreds of years of inner force in minutes. A certain chrysanthemum head, who had just lectured Xianqin with righteous words, had become so lax in his thinking. Using power for personal gain was just that easy. In the end, Yangshi did not manage to buy the same flight to Yanjing as Chen Guang, so he could only wait for the next morning. When Chen Guang arrived in Yanjing, it was about 12 o'clock in the morning. As soon as he got off the plane, he took a taxi and went to the hotel where several middle-level executives of Qingguang Agency were staying. He did not greet these people. It was called a surprise inspection, but in fact he forgot that he still had 3 subordinates that he could use. His luck was pretty good. Because he left in a hurry, not many media reporters received the news that he would appear in Beijing. Otherwise, it was hard to guarantee that the reporters here wouldn't rush to the airport to give him a surprise. When he arrived at the hotel, it was about 1 o'clock in the evening. He thought that these 3 people might have already gone to bed, so he did not look for them. Without thinking much, he randomly asked for a room to stay in. He forgot to bring his computer, so he could only play with his phone. He opened Weibo and found that the news that he appeared in Yanjing was leaked by someone who was on the same flight as him. It's true. Chen Guang mysteriously landed in Yanjing, and it's suspected that he plans to start the world's language conference in advance. I'll do it your ass. I don't need to do anything. I'll just go up and act cool. What will come sooner or later. What is Chen Guang trying to do? You guys will never know what I want in this lifetime. Just obediently give me your faith points. Central TV has entered the water. It's rumored that Central TV Entertainment Channel has bought the live broadcast rights of the World's Language Conference. Chen Guang nodded secretly. The last time he cooperated with Central TV on the Guinness World's Language Conference, there was nothing wrong with continuing the cooperation this time. Although the ratings of Central TV Entertainment Channel under normal circumstances were not as good as Mango TV, Tomato TV, and other provincial TV channels that operated well in the market, it was still a TV program that radiated to the whole country. With him personally leading the charge, the overwhelming and shameless hype, the world's language conference would not lack attention. At that time, Central TV Entertainment Channel's ratings would definitely make a comeback. He was the attention. What was important was the coverage. The ratings of the TV station itself was not important. ESPN, Sky Sports, ABC, WBC, HBO, and other TV stations have mysteriously appeared. Who will get the rights to the overseas live broadcast of the World's Language Conference? F*CK. I can tolerate ESPN, but what the hell is HBO? Isn't that a TV station that shoots large-scale American dramas? Forget it. Don't care about these details. At least this shows that I'm getting more and more popular. A huge prize pool of 100 million was thrown out, and sure enough, there were still some bubbles. In the past, these foreign TV stations were not so friendly to me. YouTube and Twitch executives have parachuted into Beijing, suspected to be here for the overseas live broadcast rights of the World's Language Conference. What kind of charm does an almighty superhuman have? Chun Guang remembered the female YouTube host that he had a good time working with at the international arm wrestling competition. He thought that if the offer was close, then he would continue to YouTube. That girl's figure was quite hot. Forget it. As the big boss of the company, he should not be thinking about these trivial matters. Then, what should I think about? If it was a normal person, they would probably be busy preparing for such a big stage to participate in a world-class competition, right? But I don't need it. Training? It doesn't seem like I have a lot of fighting spirit. I'm actually bored again. Chun Guang's mind was filled with random thoughts. He was still very energetic and couldn't fall asleep, but he couldn't find anything in particular that he wanted to do. In a daze, he suddenly remembered something that Liuli had done before. At that time, she used some unknown means to freeze her personal assets of 170 million, saying that she used it to buy a company. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed, but the money hadn't come back, and the company hadn't been seen either. She wouldn't have given me the money to invest in stocks, right? Or perhaps she had been fooled by a scam fund on the internet and had the money absconded with it. Or perhaps she had been donated to the Chongjiang Business School's Alumni Association and had them use it to build an internet car. It couldn't be, right? After all, Liuli was a dignified divine emperor. She couldn't be so stupid, right? After all, she had learned how to do business for such a long time. It was impossible that she couldn't even see through such a simple scam, right? Wait a minute. Chun Guang suddenly remembered that when Liuli said that she had learned how to do business, she seemed to be watching TV series such as Hotel Storm, Founding Era, Golden Age, and so on. It seemed that it was not impossible for Liuli to be cheated of her underwear. Then the problem was that the underwear that was cheated away was not hers, but mine. My underwear is worth 170 million yuan. He began to panic. He clapped his hands hard, picked up the cup, and went into Realm Cloud City in the cup, but he didn't see Liuli. Looking for Sister Liuli? Lu Minghua asked immediately. Chun Guang, yes. It's very important. Lu Minghua said gloomily. Before Sister Liuli went into seclusion, she asked me to bring you a message. Chun Guang, please say it. I'm all ears. Lu Minghua coughed, and then the huge fruit suddenly bent down and waved in front of Chun Guang. A shrill, lowly voice came from her fruit, and she roared in a roaring tone. I'm not feeling well today. No matter how big your business is, it's not a big deal. Even if aliens invade, you should find a tree hole to hide in, and we'll talk about it another day. Thankfully, there was no saliva on the fruit. Chun Guang's face was covered by her inexplicable roar. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you going to deafen me? Lu Minghua snorted. No, that was the tone that Sister Liuli used when she asked me to bring the message. She also emphasized to me that if you want to find her, you should repeat the original words in her tone. I was also asked to do that. Chun Guang was greatly shocked. Did Liuli abandon me? Lu Minghua spat at him. I advised her to simply kill you and find a savior. Even if she had to wait for another trillion years, it wouldn't be a problem. But she was soft-hearted, and she didn't listen. I always feel that you are lying to me. Yes, I am lying to you. But your Majesty God Emperor really can't be distracted anymore. You just wait patiently, and I will give you a surprise when the time comes. Chen Guang always felt that Liuli was probably pretending to be offline on purpose. She was afraid that if he asked her about the money, she would feel guilty. Alas, I'm so angry, but I can't do anything about it. He awkwardly left the cup world, and his mind began to ponder about Liuli's big plan. After thinking about it, he still didn't know what it was. Forget it, sleep. Let me set the alarm clock first. I'll get up at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning and call Lu Xiaoyang and the others over to ask about their progress. I should occasionally pretend to be a copy of the cabinet. Whoosh. What? It's already noon. Forget it. Pretend that I didn't say anything. Why didn't I hear the alarm clock at all? No. When the alarm clock rang in the morning, I seemed to have opened my eyes. At that time, I should have set the alarm clock and slept for 5 minutes before waking up. But why is it already midnight when I open my eyes? I must have encountered time thief, and my time was stolen. So scary. After ordering breakfast, he ate slowly in his room. He couldn't help but complain about himself. Alas, I came early. I didn't expect that I would also feel bored. Find some books to read? Go away, I just finished my makeup exams. As the sharpening king, how can I read books at the beginning of school? This is simply not in line with my style as a crazed study god. Play games? I should have asked for the supreme suite. The computer in this shabby room might not even be as good as my popcorn phone. When I play games, it will be like a slideshow. Moreover, how can I play games without live streaming to cheat money? Buy a new high-performance gaming laptop at Jingxi Shopping Center? I already have one at home. I'm only using it for a few days. Won't it be too extravagant to buy another one? Don't tell me that I have too much money to spend. This is how the old man is thrifty. Money should be spent where it's needed. Forget it. I'll ask the Guangdong branch office in Beijing if they have a budget. As a director, it shouldn't be too much to use public funds to buy an alien with a GTX 1080 graphics card, right? At this time, his phone suddenly rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Bai Hua. Chen Guang subconsciously didn't want to pick up, but he heard from Lu Xiaoyang that Bai Hua helped a lot in sponsoring the World Language Conference. If I hang up now, wouldn't it seem like I'm burning bridges after crossing the river? Then I'll pick up. If he asks about Chen Yu, I'll immediately pretend that the signal is bad and hang up. Bai Hua. Chen Guang, I saw on the news that you're already in Beijing. Chen Guang. Yes, Brother Bai Hua. Why are you looking for me? Thank you for your help a few days ago. No problem. Don't mention it. Oh, by the way, Chen Yu. Hello. Brother Bai Hua, where are you now? Your signal is bad. Can you hear me? Hello. Brother Bai Hua. I can't hear you. It's intermittent. Pa. The phone was hung up. Chapter 854. Chen Guang decided to hide as soon as possible. With Bai Hua's spies in Beijing, the commotion he caused after getting off the plane yesterday, and the fact that he had contact with the 3 generals of his agency, it was hard to guarantee that he wouldn't guess that he was staying in this hotel. The old man wasn't feeling well, so he took his leave first. He quickly got up, packed up his belongings, and prepared to run. As for his original plan to talk to Yu Hong and the others, he threw it to the back of his mind. He would find a safe place to settle down before calling the 3 of them over. As soon as he opened the door, he gave up struggling. The reason was simple. Bai Hua was right in front of his room. Looking at Bai Hua, Chen Guang smiled and said, "Oh, big brother Bai, what a coincidence." Bai Hua smiled insincerely. "That's strange. Why is there no signal in the suite of Tianjin Hotel?" Chen Guang decisively pushed the blame to his phone. "It must be my phone's problem. This crappy popcorn is a scam. No wonder he came looking for me. I'm so stupid." This lousy hotel was called the Tianjin Hotel, and it looked like it belonged to the Tianjin Energy Group. It was no wonder that Bai Hua was able to find his room number so easily. The room number of a dignified deputy minister could be found out so easily. This country is dangerous. Forget it. I know you're afraid that I'll ask you about Chen Yu. No, it's nothing. It's just that Sister Chen Yu is busy with her business and doesn't want me to bother her with trivial matters. I'm not saying that you're bothering her. That's not what I meant. Bai Hua silently rolled his eyes. He was speechless at Chen Guang's words. Forget it. I'll think of a way later, but I definitely won't give up. Recently, the elders have started arranging blind dates for me again, but I have no interest in those mediocre women. The more I see, the more I feel that there is no woman more perfect than Chunyu in this world. Recently, this feeling has become stronger and stronger. I even think that Shuriwei can't compare to Chunyu's intellectual beauty, let alone her talent. Chen Guang wished he could cover this fellow's mouth. Brother, I beg you to restrain yourself. Please stop praising me. If Jiang Yage heard what you said, she would probably laugh herself to death, right? Are you blind? I'm more perfect than Jean Shuriwei. Are you trying to disgust me to death? Brother Baihua, you're truly infatuated. Chen Guang didn't know what to say and could only laugh. Baihua nodded. Of course, a man should establish himself in this world, establish his career, and marry a peerless beauty. Forcing yourself to marry someone you don't like will only harm others and yourself. Although I, Baihua, am not a hero, I am still a responsible man. However, I will not force myself like this, nor will I drag others down. Either I won't marry for the rest of my life, or I'll marry the woman I truly love. The more he spoke, the more excited he became. There was even an indescribable glow on his face. There was a halo behind his head. This time, Chen Guang really couldn't hold it in any longer. His mouth was wide open as he looked at this frightening fellow who had already entered trance state. Brother Baihua, what you said makes sense, but the person you said you want to marry is this baby Ya. Scary, very scary. Actually, I really don't understand you. You and Chunyu have such a good relationship. Don't tell me you haven't discovered her beauty? You can actually resist her peerless charm? That's right. I know that you and Shuri used to have a fake relationship, but I've known Shuriwei for so many years. I understand her. She's true to you. Didn't you reject her once before? Chen Guang, tell me quietly, do you like men? Otherwise, I really can't understand you. I like your face. Chen Guang spat in his heart. He didn't want to talk to this fellow at all. My good little brother Xiong. The one who likes men is you, not me. Moreover, I look in the mirror every day. I admit that I can discover my peerless charm every day, but my charm is used to pick up girls, not to seduce men. All right, Brother Baihua. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. This is a public place. You're a well-known entrepreneur, so it won't be good for your reputation if word of this spreads. All right, why were you looking for me? Baihua snapped back to reality. I almost forgot about the important matter. I have some information here. You could take a look. Although I don't know what you plan to do at the World's Language Conference, since you want to participate, you definitely want to win, right? This information lists some contestants that you should pay attention to. Don't take it lightly. I took a quick look, and there's a group of people called something like Broca Area Awakened. Anyway, they're very powerful. I didn't know that there were so many talented people in this world. The world is really full of strange things. Chen Guang absent-mindedly took the portfolio from Baihua. Thank you. Although he didn't feel like he needed to read these things, he didn't care about Broca. Even if you were Majin Bu, you'd still have to kneel on the ground and sing Conquer to me. But in the end, this was still Baihua's good intentions. But was such a small matter worth him personally delivering it? Sure enough, Baihua immediately took out a small envelope from his pocket and continued to stuff it into Chen Guang's hands. Okay, since I took the initiative to help you, you have to help me too. This is a letter I wrote to Chunyu. Please pass it on for me. Chen Guang stiffly took the letter. Sure enough, this guy was up to no good. I say, as the vice president of Tianjin Energy Group, how could you be so bored as to personally deliver something like this? This must be your real purpose, right? Okay, don't forget about it. I still have something to do at the company, so I'll be leaving first. See you later. Chen Guang silently waved his hand. I won't forget. He added in his heart. Actually, you've already delivered it to the right person. Back in his room and closing the door, Chen Guang subconsciously wanted to burn the letter. But for some reason, he tore open the envelope again. Dear Madam Chenyu, long time no see. I missed you. How have you been? Since the first time I saw you. Chen Guang's face turned pale as he threw the letter away. He had goosebumps all over his body. Crazy, completely crazy. Brother Bai Hua is really done for. After such a long time, not only did he not give up, but he also became crazier and crazier. I had a premonition that this letter might be a love letter, and it turned out to be so. His condition was so serious that he had to use such an old-fashioned method to pick up girls. At this moment, the room door was suddenly opened again. Chen Guang screamed, "Who is it? Die for me." "Boss. Boss Chen, what's going on?" Lu Xiaoyang stiffened his neck and stared blankly at the 9-yin white bone claw on his forehead. He wondered if Boss Chen had a miraculous encounter after jumping off a cliff. When I opened the door, he was still a few meters away. My eyes flashed, and he was already in front of me. I didn't even have time to react. This speed is a bit unscientific. Also, did his fingers just freeze in the fridge? Why do I feel a chill on my forehead? Also, why is his reaction so sensitive? What is that piece of paper on the floor? But face? Chen Guang looked at Lu Xiaoyang's dumbfounded face and retracted his hand. Luckily, he had retracted his hand in time. Otherwise, he would have lost a powerful man. Damn, the love letter I sent to Bai Hua was so stimulating that I almost pinched butt-face forehead. "Hey, it's me. We just bumped into Boss Bai downstairs. Boss Bai said that you were in this room. We were thinking of coming up to report to you, but I was too excited and forgot to knock." "That? Boss Chun, did I disturb you?" Lu Xiaoyang carefully opened the door a bit more. Behind him stood Yu Hong and Fang Tianyu. Chen Guang took a few steps back and returned to the love letter that was thrown on the floor. His inner strength burst forth from his palms, wanting to use it to suck the love letter into his palm. "Get up." Well, it turned out that he was thinking too much. It was impossible for a beginner's muscle strength to control the inner strength so easily, but in fact it required a lot of skill and difficulty. So he quietly squatted down, grabbed the paper in his hand, crumpled it into a ball, and stuffed it into his trouser pocket. Then he waved at the door as if nothing had happened. "Why are you all standing at the door? Come in." Chen Guang chatted with them for a while. In just one morning, the three of them had settled the live broadcast rights. The online live broadcast rights were sold to Twitch for $6 million. YouTube could only afford $5 million. Although they had a good relationship in the past, they could only apologize this time. The live broadcast rights were divided into two parts. The European live broadcast rights were sold to Sky Sports for £3 million, and the American live broadcast rights were sold to ABC for $3.5 million. At the same time, the major channels were allowed to distribute and broadcast advertisements on their own. Other than the live broadcast rights, the major TV stations also obtained the rights to produce and sell audio and video materials related to the World Language Conference. The copyright would be jointly held by the Tianguang Agency and the various television stations. Chen Guang didn't want to have to pay for a compilation of his pretentious videos or videos on Weibo in the future. Considering that the other party was asking for a high price, this was a very loose copyright license contract. After all, Tianguang Agency didn't have the energy to negotiate for every advertisement in the world, so it was better to sell the live broadcast rights for a good price. Everyone did a good job. It's settled then. I don't have any other plans for the next few days except for one thing. Do your best to cooperate with the TV stations and live broadcast platforms to hype this up. The more hype, the better. Chen Guang waved his hand and gave everyone a general direction. All the live broadcast rights and broadcasting rights were sold for about 91 million RMB. After deducting the 10% share to the Huaxia Language Association, his company got about 82 million RMB. Other than that, Little Tsong's Chinese live broadcast rights were almost guaranteed to get 30 million RMB. His company's share was 27 million RMB. In addition to the 63 million RMB from the advertising sponsorship, Tianguang Agency had already earned a total of 172 million renminbi before the World Language Conference even started. When the World Language Conference really started, the foreign live streaming platforms would not be able to make a profit for the time being. Little Tsong's Bamboo live streaming platform would probably be able to receive some gifts. Adding in other potential income, such as tickets, it would not be impossible for the total income to reach 180 million yuan. Even if he was too unlucky and lost in the competition of the World Language Club due to some unspeakable and impossible situation, he wouldn't be able to get a penny of prize money back, and the total investment of 140 million yuan would all go down the drain. The company would still be able to make a profit. Furthermore, it was impossible for him to lose. Therefore, no matter how stupid, crazy, or naive people thought he was, the old man had already made money. Okay? This was the power of hype. This was the IP value of the old man, China's #1 internet celebrity. If he didn't spend 100 million renminbi and didn't have this level of attention, how could he sell the advertising sponsorship and live broadcast rights at such a high price? So, this old man is actually a business genius that only appears once in 100 years. Okay? People call him the king of hype. Okay? This was called listening to thunder in silence, lifting heavy things as if they were light, and great wisdom seemed foolish. I never needed to kneel to earn money, nor do I need to stand to earn money. I earn money lying down. Chapter 855. All right, the king of hype is a little tired. I need to play a game to calm myself down. Chen Guang took out his phone and called Lu Xiaoyang over. Boxer, did you bring your computer? Yes, President Chen. Lend it to me, no need to thank me. Lu Xiaoyang. This, Chen Guang deliberately put on a straight face. Is there something shameful in your computer? Lu Xiaoyang. No, but I have to write a proposal later. Comrade Xiaoyang, don't be so rigid. You have to worry about your boss's urgent needs. I have an urgent need for my computer now. If you want to write a proposal, you can think of a way yourself. Go to an internet cafe or borrow a computer from Old Fong or Old You. But my business is more important. Chen Guang lectured Lu Xiaoyang. I'm serious. Boss, I'm in an urgent situation right now, and it concerns the survival of the company. Boxer, it's time for you to show your adaptability. Lu Xiaoyang was on the verge of tears. President Chen indeed. Even the reason for borrowing a computer was so lofty. 5 minutes later, Lu Xiaoyang handed over the new Apple MVP he bought a few days ago with both hands. Chen Guang, what's wrong with you? How can an Apple system fight against the Dota? President Chen, don't you have something important to do? Fight against the Dota? Chen Guang waved his hand. Don't worry about the details. All right, go ahead. It's an Apple. It's not like it can't be used. Anyway, this was someone else's computer. Master Guang was very straightforward. After 2 to 3 hours of fiddling with it, he decisively changed Boxer's Apple OS to Windows. He then downloaded and installed the Dota, adjusted the picture quality to the lowest, and got ready to play. Actually, the reason why he had such a strong desire to play games was not just to kill time. There was another important reason. A few days ago, when he was playing games with Lin Jingwei and the others, he was dragged down by the 4 of them. He was exhausted to the point where he could only secure 4 consecutive victories. At that time, it looked like it was hard, but after the fight, he still felt a warm feeling in his lower abdomen. The inner strength chi transformed into a little mouse was almost no different from when he was studying and taking makeup exams. It was still circulating on its own, constantly strengthening. In fact, the principle was the same. He was fully focused when he was reading, and even more so when he was playing games. Sometimes playing games was even more tiring than reading books. After playing a few consecutive high-intensity games, one would feel dizzy. For Chen Guang, it was easier for him to concentrate when he was playing than when he was reading. All he had to do was sit there, and he could instantly enter the state without having to change anything. Therefore, he wanted to give it another try and make a comparison in his mind. He wanted to know if his inner force would increase faster when he was fully focused on playing games or when he was reading or actively guiding his chi. After starting the live stream, he didn't interact with the bullet screen and went straight into the game. Roughly 4 to 5 hours later, Yu Hong and the rest returned from their work. However, Chen Guang was still immersed in the Stairway Bureau. For the entire afternoon, he had played a total of 7 rounds. Compared to other high-ranking players, his matchmaking speed was much faster. Others were matched for an hour and 30 points. Although he did not queue in seconds, he was matched in 5 to 6 minutes. The reason was simple. As the only almighty in the 4 servers and a #1 internet celebrity in China, the fact that he started live streaming to increase his points instantly caused the players of Dota to go into a frenzy. Not only did his live streaming room explode in popularity, but even though it was working hours, the number of viewers quickly exceeded 1 million and was approaching 3 million. Even Dota's local server was in an uproar. The number of players online at the same time was 20% higher than usual. The high-ranking players flocked to him and attacked him. The number of viewers on the main page of the game had reached an unbelievable 200,000. Even large-scale competitions didn't have such a number of viewers. Both V-Club and Perfect had no choice but to temporarily adjust the server to provide Chen Guang's account with the spectator server. He had learned it perfectly this time. There were many high-ranking almighties that were matched at the same time, so the match was naturally faster. It was not uncommon to see various top branches with an average of more than 8,000 points. There was another advantage to this kind of high-ranking match. The high-ranking almighties were all reputable figures in the local server. There were no actors or people who deliberately cheated others. After all, no one wanted to be the subject of ridicule in front of millions of people. From then on, they would be constantly reported and turned into wardens. Whether it was Chen Guang's teammates or the opponent, they all gave it their all. Therefore, this kind of high-ranking match was no less exciting than a top professional match. After 7 rounds of games in the afternoon, although Chen Guang was dizzy from exhaustion, he really had a good time. CEO Chen, have you eaten? Lu Xiaoyang asked cautiously as he stood behind Chen Guang and watched as Chen Guang wielded the Black Emperor's staff and endured the encirclement of 5 heroes, tearing apart the enemy's base. The pain in his heart could not be any greater. Is this what you meant by a matter of life and death for the company? Dota? You even installed Windows on my MVP? Are you poisonous? My computer's left speaker is not making any sound. Did you burn the hardware for Windows? Chen Guang leaned back and was not in a hurry to pay attention to Lu Xiaoyang. Instead, he closed his eyes and focused on sensing the little mouse that was running around in his body like a wild horse. At this time, he was a little physically and mentally exhausted. This afternoon of high-intensity matches, there was almost no interval in between. The intensity of each match was close to the Seattle International Invitational Tournament Finals. Even professional players could not withstand it, let alone a former patient with severe Dota fatigue. After more than 2 rounds, he would feel as nauseous as if he was pregnant. Forget it for the peerless godly skill. I can persevere no matter how hard it is. CEO Chen, who was addicted to games, found a particularly righteous reason for himself, because he found that his hard work was really worth it. It was different from being a god with 4 legs in a fish pond. It was just hard work and tiredness, but he did not need to be overly focused. He only showed off his skills when he was in a group fight. Usually, when he was farming money, the opponent's movements were within his expectations. Moreover, he only wanted to win and did not want to lose. He never allowed himself to make any mistakes. Such focus and dedication brought about extremely obvious benefits. He found that the speed at which the little mouse became stronger was faster than when he deliberately meditated. Since this difference could already be felt, it meant that the difference was not small. Looking at it in the long term, it was extremely significant. This meant that in the future, he could train by playing Dota. He even thought in his heart that when one liked Dota so much, was it because she was like him that her internal energy naturally grew faster when she played games than when she meditated? But he quickly denied this thought. If that was the case, it was impossible that one did not tell him. After all, he was the only god who could have the heavenly holy grail as a foundation for his physical body. Taking a deep breath, Chen Guang logged out of the game and switched to the live broadcast room. Brother all-rounder, you are about to compete. Are you really a man to play games the whole afternoon? He is just accompanying the prince to study. It is just a formality to hype himself up. Do you really expect him to win? Another 7 consecutive wins. This guy's solo ranking score is already more than 10,200. Don't tell me he is going to rush to 11,100. Who can stop him? Thank you Do D for the rocket. Thank you May Emperor for the rocket. May Emperor was defeated just now. There were all kinds of comments. Chen Guang did not have the mood to care about the haters. He only said goodbye to his fans and the person who gave him the gift. Then he turned off the live broadcast and went offline. He then turned around and slowly stood up. Taking a deep breath, the little mouse that was running around in his body gradually calmed down. He spat out a mouthful of turbid air. Let's go eat. Lu Xiaoyang could not move his feet. Oh my MVP, what the hell is your heartache? If this project is done well, I will give you a bonus of 100,000 yuan, okay? Mr. Chun, using an apple to play games is too boring. Should I buy you an alien later? With your salary? Lu Xiaoyang counted in his heart. 100,000 yuan was enough to buy 3 or 4 alien. Okay, just like that, he secretly decided on the Apple MVP rescue plan. Chen Guang sat at the dining table and listened to the reports of the 3 people. Among Yu Hong, Fang Tianyu, and Lu Xiaoyang, Yu Hong was responsible for coordinating the meeting between Tianguang Brokerage and the China Language Association. Since the investment budget was different now, the layout of the venue naturally couldn't be so stingy. These were all places that needed to be spent, so someone had to keep an eye on them and make overall arrangements so that every penny could be spent where it was needed. Fang Tianyu was responsible for coordinating with the major sponsors and the live broadcast media. For example, the standard and installation of the live broadcast equipment. Now that the money had been spent, the live broadcast effect had to be the best. 4K video recording, HD omnidirectional multi-camera, and if conditions permitted, even a VR live broadcast. Live AR data processing support had to be implemented. As for Lu Xiaoyang, he was responsible for coordinating with a major media information structure and continuing to follow up the publicity. After dinner, Chen Guang returned to his room and gave Wenwen a call. On one hand, he wanted to ask her what was going on with the strange phenomenon of his natural increase in power. On the other hand, he wanted to sound her out and see what the situation was on her side. Ever since Chen Guang saved Wenwen from chi deviation, he realized that this Miss Wen was a bit of a one-track mind. She seemed to think that he was a burden and even pretended to be affected by chi deviation, intending to keep a distance from him. She obviously wanted to leave me alone to act cool. What a joke. The Condor hero couple, Jiao, is inseparable from Meng. Meng is inseparable from Jiao. Okay? What's more, the internal force martial artist has something to do with me, whether it's official or personal. Okay? Don't think that I can just stand by and watch. I wonder what kind of expression she will have when she hears that I can play the Dota faster than meditating. I'm curious. Chapter 856. On the other end of the line, no one knew what Wenwen was doing. It rang for a long time before she picked it up. You weren't meditating in seclusion just now, were you? Chen Guang asked in bewilderment. Wenwen sighed in her heart and forced herself to say in a cold voice, I was indeed meditating just now, but it's all right. My skills are profound now, and I can control them freely. Even if I'm in seclusion, it's not like I'm going to die. It's fine to stop for a while. Chen Guang pursed his lips slightly. It seemed like there was no way she could change this bad habit of looking down on others and thinking that he was a burden. Actually, Chen Guang had wronged Wenwen. Back when she went into chi deviation, Wenwen behaved that way because she felt that she had successfully cultivated human transformation. In the future, there was a high possibility that she could break through the void and be in a different world from Chen Guang. She thought that when the time came, instead of letting him miss her for nothing, it would be better for her to cut ties with him and save him from suffering for nothing. Wanting to deal with the poison sect and the dark sect alone was only one of the reasons. What really made her pull out her lousy acting skills and put on a cold expression was mostly because of the human transformation in her body. However, not long after Chen Guang left, she realized that the human transformation in her stomach was different from what was recorded in the books. The baffling thing was Chen Guang's appearance. How could the human transformation in the body of an inner force martial artist be someone else's appearance? Even if he was her only man, it was completely illogical and had no scientific basis. At that time, she was in a bad mood and her mind was in a mess. Not to mention that she had never heard of such a situation. Even the knowledgeable fourth great-grandmother did not know about it. Recently, she had searched through all the books and found nothing. The only thing that didn't change was that her cultivation was still inexplicably progressing along the broad road, advancing at a rapid pace. There was simply no way for her to stop. This was something that had never been recorded in the ancient records. Woman gradually stopped thinking about why her human form was a miniature version of Chunguang. Human transformation was, after all, a legendary existence. There was not much to refer to. Perhaps there was an oversight in the records of the predecessors. It was not impossible that martial artists who practiced different martial arts would have different forms of human transformation. For example, the painting volume passed down by the ancestors of the one family could form a humanoid figure who was the partner of the cultivator. In short, based on the current situation, he would probably have to break through the void before he could live to the end of his life. Thus, it was better for her to continue keeping her distance from Chunguang. As a result, she forced herself to continue acting cold and aloof, which made old Master Guang especially unhappy. Chunguang decided to give her a surprise, no, a scare. Therefore, he deliberately panicked and said, "Wen, you know that I have inner strength recently, right? But I realize that the situation is a little strange. My inner strength is growing stronger by itself every day. I'm not meditating, I'm just reading or hitting the sword tower, but chi is running through my meridians on its own, like a horse whose tail has been lit on fire. I can't stop it no matter what. In addition, when I hit the sword tower, the increase in chi is at least 1 to 2 times faster than when I deliberately cultivate. Anyway, as long as I focus on something, I don't need to deliberately breathe in and out. Chi will move on its own." Wen was indeed shocked, her eyelids twitching. "What? How is that possible?" "That's not all. 2 days ago, when I first developed chi, I sparred with Xi and Wu Miaowan. Both of them are at the peak of bone strength, but I almost made Wu Miaowan lose all her power with one punch." Chunguang was too embarrassed to show off his ability to brag. But when he thought about how he had forcefully boasted about himself as the omnipotent prophet and great sage Right Shun in the transient sea, he really couldn't say it out loud. If he said too much, it would scare the little girl. In short, he was terrifyingly strong. He didn't brag easily, but when he did, even he was afraid of himself. Wen said, "That's impossible." The ancient people also felt that the earth wasn't round, that it's a round sky and a round earth, but now. I'm asking you about this, not to bullshit with you, but because this situation has already happened, it's already an established fact. Now I want to know what to do. Miss Wen, can we get into the right state as soon as possible? Since you want to be aloof, then I'll talk to you in a serious manner. Wen listened to his tone and saw that he was so serious. So she also became serious. She thought to herself, he really doesn't seem to be joking, but this kind of thing is too unbelievable, okay? Looking at the thousands of years of history in the pugilistic world, there has never been such a phenomenon, okay? An adult in his 20s who had only practiced external martial arts for less than 2 months inexplicably had inner strength. This was the first ridiculous thing. Just having the feeling of chi, or maybe just crossing the threshold of muscle strength, could already threaten a martial artist at the peak of bone strength. And with one punch, he could make others lose all their power. This was the second ridiculous thing. Hitting the sword tower could also increase inner strength, and it was faster than meditating in seclusion. This was the third ridiculous thing. I also don't know. Wen struggled for a long time, but could only say it embarrassedly. Chunguang looked as if she was lying to him. "Come on, how could you not know? You're at the level of Wenzhong, and from the information I got from the Guangdong General Office, it said that you're the world's #1 martial artist. If you don't know, then who should I ask?" Wen wanted to tell him, "Not to mention what happened to you. Even my own situation, I don't understand, okay?" But Chunguang was right. Now she was indeed the world's #1 martial artist, and being ridiculed like this by this guy, she felt a little embarrassed. Wenwen rolled her eyes and decided to tell a big lie. Now that things have come to this, I can only tell you the truth. The reason why the One family's dancing scroll can make the One family stand in the pugilistic world for thousands of years is actually because of this unique characteristic of dancing scroll. As long as the practitioner's state of mind is there, it can naturally grow. Yes, it's like this. Really? Really? After hanging up the phone, Chun Guang couldn't help but sigh. The old man was indeed too evil. He even forced Wenwen to lie. It was really sad and lamentable. When I reach the level of Pai Jin, then I'll directly kill in front of you and let you see what a real genius is. Just as he was planning to play another 2 rounds of games to practice, he didn't expect his phone to ring again. He picked it up and saw that it was Yang Shi. This guy finally caught up with her again. It was really hard on him. Yang Shi arrived at about 10 o'clock in the evening. He was rushed from Yinjing to Wujing by Big Beard, and then he slept on a chair at the Wujing airport for a night, and then he returned to Yinjing early the next morning, which made him very tired. He originally planned to find a room to sleep for 3 hours, adjust his state, and then find Chun Guang, but he didn't expect that when he woke up, it was already sunset, so he quickly called Chun Guang. Chun Guang said with a smile, "I say, Brother Yang, it's better for you to stay at home. When Big Beard asks, I'll say that you've been with me these days. Look at you running around behind me like this. It's useless. It's so difficult." Yang Shi said, "How can I do that? What if Director Deng calls me and asks me to give my phone to you, and you're not by my side? How can I explain it to him?" Chun Guang fooled Big Beard Deng with his willfulness, but Yang Shi didn't have the guts. "Well, then come over. Get yourself a room in the Tianjin Hotel. I won't reimburse you for the room," Chun Guang said with his lips curled. After hanging up the phone, Yang Shi felt unspeakable grievances in his heart. The commercials that Chun Guang had shot when he was representing 12 companies had now been released. Whether it was on TV media, video websites, or even social networks, there were commercials that he had starred in everywhere. It was impossible for Big Beard Deng not to see it. Chun Guang's acting skills could be seen in the commercials. The feat of shooting 12 commercials in a day, Yang Shi also truthfully told Big Beard Deng. But this stubborn uncle didn't listen. He insisted that the acting skills in commercials and in movies seemed to be different, but in fact, they were worlds apart. Even if the performance in the commercial was like that of an Oscar winner, when it came to the big screen, an actor had to perfectly interpret their role. They had to face all kinds of scenes and play the role with depth. It was not the same concept at all. How could acting skills be based on the performance in the commercials? Wasn't this nonsense? It was simply unprofessional to compare the two. As a director, this was not the way to think. Yang Shi was scolded by Big Beard, but he couldn't refute. "Director Deng, I understand what you said, but Chun Guang's acting skills are really not something that can be summed up by a movie king. If you wanted to pull Chun Guang in front of Big Beard and play the Ollie version of Big Beard again, so that Big Beard could open his eyes wide and have a good look." However, as the director and producer of Women, Big Beard was so busy that he didn't even have time to rest. Chun Guang was even busier than Big Beard. He was promoted from the male lead to the major investor, and he was even harder to serve than Big Beard. Yang Shi only thought about this in his heart, and he didn't dare to mention it to Chun Guang. Chun Guang didn't care about Yang Shi and continued to play games on Lu Xiaoyang's MVP. It had to be said that the combination of playing games and practicing martial arts was very suitable for him. The next day, Lu Xiaoyang woke up early and went to Jingxi to bring back the ET computer. He offered it with both hands, and it could be said that his MVP had been saved. It was a high-performance game system specially developed for games, and it was very comfortable to play games. It was another round of clean winning streak. Chun Guang's stairway points kept breaking new records in the local server and even in the world. While others had just crossed the 9,000 mark and were still tormented by this threshold, Chun Guang, the only god with 10,000 points, had already walked further and further down the road. At first, some people would fantasize about catching up to him from time to time. But now, no one had this idea, and it was too unrealistic. Everyone was playing a completely different game. Even his style was different. "We are Fu Jian's hunter, and you are Huang Yulong's refined Hong Kong manga. There is no comparison. Chapter 857. For the next few days, it really became a carnival for the local Dota players. Chun Guang's celestial stairway points were getting higher and higher, giving the players one after another a feast for their eyes and ears. Although, because of his continuous live streaming, after the novelty had passed, the number of online viewers had dropped. But in these few days, the average number of online viewers in his live streaming room was still as high as 2 million. The rare stable live streaming caused the number of viewers in his live streaming room to continue to increase, reaching an average of 100,000 viewers per day, finally crossing the 5 million mark. Other than those godly live streaming rooms that had more viewers than the total number of humans, there was probably no one higher than him. In addition, although he had already started to ask the audience masters and fans to stop giving gifts, it still could not stop the enthusiasm of the audience. On average, he received hundreds of thousands of gifts every day. As time passed, because his live streaming became the norm, the gift income decreased to a certain extent every day, but after a few days, he still received about 2 million. Just like what some of his fans said on his Weibo, this was his capital to make a comeback. If he really played too much in the future and unfortunately went bankrupt, he could really rely on live streaming alone to continue living freely. Apart from these benefits, he was most satisfied with the growth of his inner strength. Over the next few days, because he always won more than he lost, his celestial stairway points were getting higher and higher. Quantitative change led to qualitative change. The team members that the system matched with him were getting lower and lower, while the opponent's scores were getting higher and higher. In the last 2 days, it was often him, a god with 10,000 points, leading 4 players with 6 or 7,000 points to fight against 5 active professional players with an average of more than 8,000 points. It was a fight that was dark and gloomy. The sun and the moon were not bright. The opponents were also very targeted. Basically, whichever lane he walked, that lane would be playing mahjong from the start, obviously not giving him a chance to develop peacefully. Although he had an overwhelming advantage in terms of his own strength, the opponents, who were all active professional players, were not bad either. Even if they could not beat him in a lane, they would not be easily defeated by him. His teammates, on the other hand, would often be taken advantage of by the opponents due to the difference in individual standards and tactical awareness. Basically, in the later stages of every game, if Chun Guang could not show off his skills, he would often be slowly eaten away by the opponents who suppressed his teammates. Even though it was so difficult, he still maintained a high win rate. It was just that every match was exceptionally strenuous. This fierce battle seemed hard, but it wasn't a bad thing. The harder he fought, the more engrossed he was. The more energetic the little mouse in his body became, and the faster his inner strength grew. 6 days had passed. Although he didn't have a reference target and wasn't sure what level he was at now, he could feel that the little mouse incarnated from his inner strength was at least 10% stronger than before. It wasn't much, but according to the records in the painting scroll, if someone else wanted to increase the sense of inner strength to such an extent, they would have to spend at least half a year. But he had only played Dota for a week and had such an effect. Even one would go crazy with jealousy if she knew about it. Unknowingly, Chun Guang paid no attention to the outside world and wholeheartedly practiced the painting volume. By the time he came back to his senses, it was already the day when the World Language Gathering would officially begin. According to previous practices, the main content of the first day of the World Language Conference was the speeches of the world's major language experts, sharing the new academic achievements of the year. The focus was on academic exchanges, and at the same time, everyone could get familiar with each other and look forward to the new year. Then, they could build momentum for the competition the next day. Chun Guang did not plan to go. He only cared about tomorrow's competition. Today's academic conference was not even broadcasted live on TV. At most, it could only be featured on the evening news. Thinking about it, he felt that it was rather boring. However, the people in the company didn't think so. President Chun, you've been locked in your room playing games for a few days straight. Why don't you go and take a look today? Lu Xiaoyang tried his best to persuade Chun Guang. Chen Guang had already turned on his computer and was ready to work. Chen Guang curled his lips. What's the point of attending an academic conference? I don't want to be an old pedant. Besides, I don't seem to have any academic achievements. There's no point in going. I don't want to go on stage to speak. Lu Xiaoyang's heart ached. He had just played rock, paper, scissors with Yu Hongfang and Fang Tianyu, and then he knelt in the hands of those two idiots. He knew that President Chen was not so easy to persuade. Also, you've boasted so much. You've already proclaimed yourself as the champion, and now you're telling me that you have no academic achievements? You're making me panic. But we're one of the organizers of the World Language Conference. President Chen, you're also the only spokesperson of our company. You've been streaming games in your hotel room for a few days. Why don't you do something different today and do an outdoor live broadcast? Bamboo and Twitch will also do an online live broadcast today. If you don't go, the popularity of the event will be worrying. Look at how good the weather is outside. It's rare for Beijing to have such weather. Why don't you go out and get some fresh air? Chen Guang was expressionless. It's so early in the morning, and there's no smog outside. It's indeed good weather for an autumn outing. Lu Xiaoyang's face lit up. That's why we're playing 2 games to celebrate. There's no smog today. Chen Guang was ready to start a live broadcast. Lu Xiaoyang, don't. President Chen, you've been streaming games for the past few days. Although your numbers on Bamboo are exploding, people are saying that you're addicted to games. You're ignoring the movies and the World Language Conference. You've become an internet addict. Chen Guang shrugged and rolled his eyes. Why should I care about those haters? I'm not afraid of gossip. I'll walk my own path. Let them say whatever they want. Tomorrow, during the competition, they'll know who I am. As for the movies, Brother Yang, she's just next door. You can ask him. My acting is as steady as a dog. Comrade Xiao Lu was in despair. Sai, forget it. If you don't want to go, then don't go. Poor Xiao Kong. He finally managed to invite his Bamboo platform's face, Beauty Chu, to be the host of the outdoor live broadcast. In the end, President Chen refused to go. I'm done. Sai, why are you still dawdling? Hurry up and go. Any later, and you'll be late. The next second, Chen Guang inexplicably appeared at the door. He was changing his shoes. He turned around and urged Lu Xiaoyang impatiently. Lu Xiaoyang's eyes widened. What happened? What's going on? What did I say just now? What's with President Chen's reaction? Am I suffering from temporary amnesia? Didn't you say you wouldn't go out? President Chen, your reaction is a bit too honest. Lu Xiaoyang followed him into the elevator in a daze. He didn't understand what was going on. Chen Guang took out his phone excitedly. Sangu, help me look at my hairstyle. Is it neat? My front camera is fine. Although it can't take selfies, it can still illuminate my beauty. You're right. As the president of the company, I have to attend such an important event. My personal image is related to the company. I have to pay attention to it. I'm a responsible, good CEO. All right, today's theme is the outdoor live broadcast. Broadcast. Chen Guangqing hurriedly opened the outdoor live broadcast. When he took the phone, Lu Xiaoyang's mind was still quite confused. He felt that something was wrong. But didn't you say, Chen Guang said righteously, I was joking with you. How can I stand you up at such an important event? Do I look like someone who doesn't know what's important? I almost believed you. Chapter 858. Halfway through the journey, Chen Guang gave Little Song a call and asked about the Chu First Mississippi. Only then did Lu Xiaoyang realize why Chen Guang suddenly changed his mind. Our boss Chen is really a practical person. He said he wouldn't move. Even though he had already complained and begged, he still had a heart of stone. But in the end, he came out without hesitation. There was no other reason. He had his eyes on Chu First Miss, who was second only to him in popularity on Bamboo Live. He had watched Chu First Miss's live stream a few times. There were indeed some things that ordinary people couldn't do. Sure enough, even an outstanding man like Boss Chun couldn't avoid vulgarity. Wait, in a sense, Boss Chun was the real vulgar, okay? Unbearably vulgar, okay? At the same time, Lu Xiaoyang recalled the incident that made his relationship with Chen Guang better. Back then, didn't Chen Guang ask for a portable hard drive from him? In his office, Chen Guang spent an entire afternoon looking at the H drive that contained all sorts of information on famous actresses. Oh my God, if I had known earlier, I would have brought this up the moment we met. But I'm so tired and scared. I'm such a failure. This Chu First Miss was also an extraordinary person on Bamboo Livestream. It was said that she was a university student from a certain university in the country. But as for which university, neither the audience nor the other live streamers knew. Basically, the people on a live stream platform only knew that she called herself Chu First Mississippi. She was just like Chen Guang. She basically didn't work hard at her live stream, but her popularity was so high that it made people's hair stand on end. Looking at the entire Bamboo live stream, she was second only to Chen Guang and a few other famous live streamers. It seemed that she became a live streamer purely out of interest, not for money. Even when Xiao Tsong took the initiative to ask for a contract, she was flatly rejected. But this woman also proved a principle. The more capable a person was, the more they had the capital to be arrogant. Although her live stream was like a game, she was beautiful and sweet. Moreover, the content of her live stream wasn't about acting cute, so it was very interesting. In this aspect, she was a little similar to Chen Guang. Every time, she would change her tricks and show off something. Her main game was League of Legends. She wasn't as crazy as Chen Guang, but she was still a true queen. She was rumored to be the main mid-laner of a female team and would occasionally play in online tournaments. However, she did not play many games. Most of the time, she was either singing or doing questions on live broadcasts. That's right, it was all kinds of advanced mathematics problems, the kind that made people's hair stand on end. Some haters said that she had memorized the answers first and purposely did it for effect in the live broadcast. They said that she was acting. Therefore, she went to participate in the variety show Almighty Brain and immediately won the title of King of Mental Calculation. This time, no one could question her anymore. Sometimes, she would broadcast outdoors, and many people would pee their pants when they saw her 100-meter sprint result, which was close to that of a national-level sprinter. Occasionally, she would go swimming. She was actually at the national level. This person was so good at sports that it made people's hair stand on end. Sometimes, she would broadcast programming or hacking skills. Then, she would hack a large foreign social media site and clear the CEO's fans to zero. She was indeed a strange person, all-round in sports, super high IQ, and a harmless and charming appearance. However, she had a strong personality. She was rather arrogant and aloof. All these qualities made her an oddity similar to Chen Guang. Of course, no matter what, she was still much worse than Chen Guang. Therefore, even though she was a cute girl, she was still not as popular as Chen Guang. Although Chen Guang never live-streamed his ward rounds, he would still take a stroll around the platform every time he went offline. Occasionally, he would also take notice of this girl. He felt that her looks were very good, and she was also a little talented. As a normal man, he was naturally a little interested in this Chu First Mississippi. He might not really want to do anything with her, but it was rare for him to meet a weakened version of the all-rounder superwoman who had a similar style to himself. Of course, he would be curious. Brother Little Tsong, you're amazing. How did you manage to invite this godly person? Once the call was connected, Chen Guang happily chatted with Little Kong. Chang Xiaozong was disgusted by his words. You have the cheek to call someone a godly person? Old bro, can you please look in a mirror? You're the most godly person in the world, okay? I was wondering too. I called this Chu First Miss once before. I wanted to ask her to sign a contract, but she only offered me 5 points. Don't sign. Goodbye. Scram. Chen Guang was overjoyed. How embarrassing. You actually talk to people like that? Why don't you ban her? I want to, but she's a great hacker. I'm afraid she'll go after my server like she did to others. So it's fine if she doesn't want to sign. Anyway, she can help me gain popularity by broadcasting here, and her gift company can still make money. She has a weird temper, and I don't want to offend her. If she's unhappy and goes to another company to broadcast, I won't be able to reason with her. Then why did she come be my outdoor host this time? I'm also a loss. This time, for your World Language Conference, I searched through the company's contracted anchors for a long time, but I really couldn't find a suitable candidate. My brain short-circuited, so I called her again. I didn't expect her to agree immediately. I thought about it, and there's probably only one reason. Chen Guang asked what. Little Tsong chuckled. She must have fallen for your genes. Other than you, they're here for you. Other than that, I really can't find another explanation. After all, you're Brother Guang. You're so handsome. Great minds think alike. It's rare for me to praise someone, but little Tsong, you really have good taste. You're flattering me. Brother Guang, you're so handsome that anyone who isn't blind can see it. What kind of taste is that? Brother Guang, you're too humble. In this fickle society, there aren't many people as humble as you, Brother Guang. My apologies, little Kong. There aren't many young, rich, second-generation heirs like you. The two of them continued to flatter each other until Lu Xiaoyang had goosebumps all over his body, and Fang Tianyu, who was driving, was about to go crazy. Only then did the two of them stop. I've never seen such a shameless person. The three pillars of Tianguang Agency thought at the same time. Just as they were about to hang up, Chang Xiaocong suddenly remembered to add, "Oh right, Miss Chu also said that she wants to participate in your competition." Chen Guang curled his lips nonchalantly. "It's fine. It's not like she's a threat to me. But according to the incomplete statistics of the company's employees, she seems to have spoken a dozen foreign languages over the past few months. She's pretty good." Chen Guang came to a sudden realization. This Chu First Missy seemed to have learned quite a bit of other stuff and even grasped over a dozen foreign languages. Furthermore, she looked to be younger than him. Who knew if she might be one of the broker region awakened? However, it was useless. "It's fine, it's really fine. All right, I'm almost there. Talk to you later." After that, Chen Guang hung up the call. At this moment, he felt even more curious about the Chu First Missy. If he remembered correctly, she had appeared calm and intelligent in her live broadcast. She had a bad temper, and she was an unruly person. He didn't know if she would give him the cold shoulder when they met later. With these thoughts in mind, the four of them parked in the parking lot of the Dongshan Convention and Exhibition Center. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now at the World Language Club. There will be a host later. She's the host for today's outdoor live broadcast. She's a beauty. Let's send gifts." "All right, no gifts." As Chen Guang got out of the car, he held his phone and talked to the camera happily. Since he was already here, he might as well make the outdoor live broadcast more professional. He had to interact with the bullet screen. "Chen Guang, you really came?" Just when Chen Guang was talking to his phone, he suddenly heard a shriek. Turning around, he saw a girl about 6 meters tall, standing next to him with her hands clasped over her heart. Her slightly pale face was flushed, and she seemed to be very excited. She had clean, shoulder-length hair. She wasn't tall, but the proportions of her figure were very good. She looked very pleasing to the eye at first glance. But Chen Guang felt that something was wrong. This delicate face looked familiar, exactly like the Chu First Miss he saw on the live broadcast. But what the hell was with her expression? "You are completely different from the cold and elegant girl in my mind. You look like a star chaser. It's so different from what I remember. It's so different." Chu First Miss?" Chen Guang asked tentatively. He thought that he had met the female host's twin sister. Chu First Miss was amused. She patted Chen Guang's shoulder. "It's me, Brother Quan Quan. Don't call me Chu First Miss. Just call me Zijin. I'm your fan." Chen Guang had already called up the Heavenly Holy Grail's faith function. Looking at the thick thread of faith on her forehead, which was almost as thick as a load-bearing beam, he thought, "You don't have to tell me. I already know. She's really my die-hard fan. Sigh, the old man is too handsome. Even the mysterious, beautiful girl can't resist the old man's charm. No, I'm more mysterious than she is." Thinking about it this way, it doesn't seem strange anymore. Chen Guang asked again, "I heard from Little Tsong that you also signed up for the competition?" Chu Zijin laughed. "Yes. Since I have nothing to do, I might as well give it a try. I'll just treat it as a chance to see the world." Chen Guang continued in a sincere tone, "I hope that you're here with a learning mindset." Chu Zijin tilted her head. "Why?" "Because I already said in the interview that I can only be the champion. This is actually a stage I built for myself. Of course, I'm the only protagonist. As for the others, I can only say sorry." Hearing his words, Even Yu Hong and the other two beside him felt embarrassed. Our CEO Chen's paranoia is getting worse. Even his EQ is declining. Who talks to a girl like this? Chapter 859. Chu Zijin was slightly startled. She had always been paying attention to him, and had even used the pen name of Chu He Hanjie to write many articles related to him. Whenever he was being defamed, she was also the first to stand up and write an article to argue with others. She knew that he was an insolent person, but this was the first time that she had a real conversation with him. Brother Almighty was even more arrogant and overbearing than she remembered. However, he had always been capable of this. Since he was so confident now, it meant that he had come prepared. Let's wait for a good show. Of course, you are Chen Guang. Chu Zijin smiled more brightly. She looked at Chen Guang with stars in her eyes. Yu Hong and the other two were dumbfounded. Is this the so-called fortune favors fools? How can a girl worship you more when you brag so shamelessly? President Chen, what kind of high incense did you burn in your previous life? In addition, this Miss Chu's brain circuit is a bit abnormal. Lu Xiaoyang, who was next to him, came up to him. Well, President Chen, let's go in. There are only 5 minutes left before the meeting starts. Nice to meet you, Miss Chu. I'm also a loyal audience in your live broadcast room. But Face was really bold. He actually dared to take the initiative to talk to Chu Zijin. In fact, he didn't have any other intentions. He just thought that Chu Zijin had come here alone. Later, when he broadcast for Chen Guang, he might take out his cell phone and cooperate with her. He wanted to get to know her as a familiar working partner. He didn't expect that Chu Zijin didn't even look at him. Instead, she continued to look at Chen Guang as if there was no one else around. The cold wind blew. Lu Xiaoyang felt a chill from his toes to his head. He was embarrassed. He was completely ignored. Are you blind? Are you deaf? Chen Guang felt sorry for Lu Xiaoyang. He coughed and put the cell phone in Chu Zijin's hand. Well, anyway, it's a pleasure working with you today. My cell phone has been turned on. Since you are the host, please hold it for me. Without waiting for others to speak, Chen Guang waved his hand again and took the lead to walk into the hall. He didn't know that the bullet screen in his live broadcast room had exploded again. My God, why was it her? Is she the beautiful hostess that Brother Quan Quan was talking about? Am I seeing things? Missy doesn't even bat an eyelid when the #1 fan on the ranking board sends gifts. She also never says thank you. She's as cold as ice, and she actually came to be a host for Brother Allrounder. He was laughing so hard that his mouth was about to split open. Is she possessed by a ghost? I think I heard Missy say that she also has an idol in her live broadcast. It looks like it's Brother Allrounder. It doesn't seem impossible. After all, their styles are a bit similar, and Brother Allrounder's achievements are a bit higher. I understand what you're saying, but I can't accept it. The image of a goddess has been destroyed. Disillusionment your face. Chen Guang is so outstanding. What's wrong with worshipping him? Was it very shameful? If I were to stand in front of him, I'd be even more ferocious than Chu First Mississippi. I'd just pounce on him. I don't understand. I really don't understand. What is the relationship between these two? Didn't eldest Miss never interact with others or interact with anyone in the past? Why did she come out this time? Don't be so surprised. Think about what Brother Allrounder did, and then think about what Miss Chu did. Aren't they a bit similar? It's just that Brother Allrounder is a super enhanced version. That's right. Before Brother Allrounder appeared, I really thought that Missy was the most amazing genius. While the comments were speculating about the relationship between the two, Chen Guang and Chu Zijin were also observing each other. Chen Guang didn't have any superfluous thoughts. As soon as he heard the girl's name, he ran out excitedly. He was curious about what was so special about this girl who looked a bit like him. Everyone was curious. If others were curious about him, he would also be curious about others. However, after seeing her, Chen Guang actually felt a little regretful. Apart from being excessively beautiful, she was too mediocre in other aspects. Compared to ordinary fans, she didn't seem to be any different. She didn't have the mysterious aura that she had when he saw her on the internet. The feeling that Chu Zijin gave him now was that she was just SOSO. He didn't have the previous expectations. nor was there much surprise. He didn't lack beauties around him, nor did he lack fans. What he lacked was talent. However, compared to others, she was considered amazing. After all, she didn't have the heavenly holy grail and cheated the whole time. She completely relied on her own ability to do those things. All right, she was actually smarter than him. Her IQ was at least 150, but it didn't seem to be of any special use. As he took the lead and stepped into the conference room, countless curious, disgusted, and admiring gazes were cast at him. In an instant, he became the focus of the entire World Language Conference. Chen Guang was a little regretful. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have come. It was quite awkward. Forget it. Since he was already here, he might as well take things as they come. He adjusted his mentality slightly and smiled at the crowd looking at him. Then, he waved his hand and continued to lead the way in. Tianguang Brokerage was the only organization that assisted in organizing the World Language Conference. Furthermore, it was a big financial backer that offered a huge sum of money. As the chairman of Tianguang Brokerage, Chen Guang's academic status aside, at the very least, he should be at the top of the conference. Previously, when he had just set off from the Tianyi Hotel, the Huaxiao Language Association and the staff in charge of organizing here had already received the news. His seat was placed right in the middle of the podium. Walking along the red-carpeted path, Chen Guang walked in with large strides. He didn't care about the gazes and discussions of others along the way. The bright moon shines on the great river, and the cool breeze caresses the hills. Whatever you say, I won't lose anything anyway. He knew that many of these people weren't happy with him. That was understandable. Think about it from another perspective. If you were an old scholar in the field of linguistics, and a celebrity suddenly popped out of nowhere and sponsored the world's most prestigious academic conference with his money, then boasted about himself to the skies, and even wanted to participate in the competition, any scholar with a bit of a temper would be furious, right? They would definitely feel that he was using money to trample on their dignity. What was even more infuriating was that even if they were unhappy, they still had to come. If they had the chance, they would want to give it a try. That was a prize pool of 100 million renminbi. Who wouldn't be tempted? Just thinking about it made him feel sorry for them. I like how you guys can't stand me, but can't do anything about it. That was what old Master Guang thought to himself. When Chen Guang got closer, a middle-aged man quickly walked down from the rostrum and approached him warmly. He stretched out his hand. Hello, Mr. Chen. I've heard a lot about you. You're indeed a young talent. Chen Guang shook his hand but turned to look at Liu Xiaoyang awkwardly. Liu Xiaoyang saw the opportunity and hurriedly introduced President Chen. This is the president of the China Language Association, Mr. Huang Changming. Chen Guang put on a look of realization. Hello, President Huang. It's been hard on you. How am I a young talent? I don't deserve that. He thought to himself, considering how long I've lived in the world of cups, it's better for you to call me a living fossil talent. Huang Changming was furious. Bro, you spent 140 million on the World Language Conference, and you don't even know me. Do you think that 140 million is cabbage? After a brief moment of awkwardness, Chen Guang treated Huang Changming politely. After all, they were partners. It was better to leave some leeway for them to meet in the future. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Huang Changming led Chen Guang to the direction of the other people near the rostrum. The president of the China Language Association finally understood that Chen Guang definitely did not know anyone. Even if it was just for show, he had to introduce him to prevent any awkwardness later on. Yu Hong, Liu Xiaoyang, and the others did not sit on the rostrum. There were more and more people in the conference hall, and they still had work to do. Although today's academic conference wasn't broadcasted live on satellite TV, Bamboo and Twitch were streaming it live online. However, the content today was not very attractive. The only highlight was Chen Guang himself. The number of viewers for the live broadcast would not be too high, but today was also a preview for tomorrow. Today, all the preparations were done. Tomorrow, they could use the new live broadcast technology that fused VR and AR more maturely. In a sense, this was probably the first 4K level VR live broadcast in the world. It could be considered an industry milestone. Coincidentally, because of Chen Guang's incident, Bamboo, and the foreign giant Twitch met. Central TV, Sky Sports, and ABC also got involved. A total of 5 industry leaders met in such a hasty cooperation. Due to the suddenness of the incident, there was not much time for these companies to negotiate and wrangle. In order to ensure that this project, which had been hastily invested a lot of money, did not fail, and instead put aside their grudges, contributed manpower, and shared technology. This gave them a very short period of time to form what could be called the best team in the industry. It was a pity that such a heavyweight team, the best technical staff, and the world's first 4K level VR live broadcast were actually used in an academic forum like the World Language Conference instead of a top sports event like the World Cup or the Olympics. It was a pity. President Chun. This is Mr. Park Kangnam. He is a famous professor at Seoul University, and one of the executive directors of the World Language Association. This is Mr. Butler Guy, an honorary professor at Oxford University, and also one of the executive directors of the World Language Association. Huang Changming brought Chun Guang forward 2 steps and went directly behind Park Kangnam and Butler's seats. He enthusiastically introduced them to Chun Guang. Chun Guang had seen these 2 people's comments about him when he was watching the news. They were very rude, and they almost picked up a foot basin and splashed it on his head. He did not feel very comfortable and did not want to pay attention to these 2 people. However, it was difficult to reject Huang Changming's hospitality, so he forced a smile on his face. Unexpectedly, when Chun Guang came over, Park Kangnam and Butler Guy sat on their seats. Not to mention getting up to greet Chun Guang, the 2 of them did not even turn their faces. They were still whispering to each other. This time, Huang Changming and Chun Guang were embarrassed. This was a standard example of putting a warm face on a cold buttocks. It was a very stiff feeling. Even Chun Guang was dumbfounded. He initially thought that he could be considered arrogant by squeezing out a smile. In the end, these 2 people surpassed him. They simply treated him as air. I lost. Although I also wanted to do this, these 2 people actually beat me to it. He never thought that the old man, who had been in the pugilistic world for many years, would actually be beaten by others in acting cool. This was simply the greatest humiliation of his life. He could not tolerate it. Chapter 860. Chun Guang turned to look at Huang Changming unhappily. If you hadn't dragged me here, I wouldn't have tried to greet these 2 pretentious stars. I wouldn't have been plotted against. A man needs his face, a tree needs its bark. What's the most important? Face is the most important. This is infuriating the old man. At this moment, the comments in Chun Guang's personal live broadcast room were exploding. This is too much. When has Brother All-Rounder ever been humiliated? When has anyone dared to act so pretentiously in front of Brother All-Rounder? How can this be tolerated? Be careful that Brother All-Rounder's 30 million fans on Weibo and live broadcast room will drown you with their spittle. Are you afraid of 30 million fans? In every 200 people on Earth, there is 1 fan of Brother All-Rounder, okay? Thinking about it, this is really impressive. These 2 are too arrogant. Brother All-Rounder is standing and greeting them, and they don't even move their butts, and they pretend not to hear it. Arrogant my *S. Whoever divulges the phone numbers of these 2, Baldy Glory Brotherhood's 3rd team, will immediately blow them up. The bomber will set off immediately. The Anti-Light Alliance is here. Who dares to be rash? Make them doubt their lives. Maybe they're dissatisfied with Brother All-Rounder's arrogance. This isn't strange, but they are too lacking in bearing. They don't give him any face. I feel that these 2 are unlucky. Brother All-Rounder will beat them up, right? How is that possible? This is such a big conference venue. How can he beat people up? Does this mean that Brother All-Rounder is going to suffer? After all, he has invested so much money in this matter. He should be more tolerant to prevent trouble, right? On the other side, Huang Changming was being held up by Butler and Put Songnan. He was also very uncomfortable. Chun Guang's eyes were filled with displeasure. He felt a chill in his heart. He felt wronged. Huang Changming thought to himself, I didn't expect these 2 to be so inconsiderate. Chen Guang took a deep breath and suppressed his temper. Just as the comments said, this was a public place. Most of the people in the conference were scholars. This academic conference today could be considered as the most prestigious conference in the field of language in the world. If he were to just throw his fists at him, he would be at a disadvantage for no reason, and it would also bring about a negative impact. However, if he were to turn around and leave just like that, he would feel extremely unhappy, especially after he heard that Butler Guy and Park Kingdom had signed up for tomorrow's competition. He felt that he couldn't just walk away. Although these two scoundrels were terrible people, since they were so bad at handling things, they still managed to become permanent directors of the World Language Association. Didn't that mean that they had real talent? With them around, they naturally wouldn't have a share in the championship, but the total prize pool was as high as 100 million. Even if they were to get into the top 10, the money would still be a lot. At the thought of this, old Master Guang, who never wanted to lose out, felt even more disgusted. Not only did he make them lose face, but he also gave them the cold shoulder. Later on, he even had to pay out his own pocket to give them a bonus. Was there anything more infuriating than this? Other than having their ancestral graves dug up and having their foreheads cuckolded, there was probably nothing else like this, right? So, I have to do something to make these two pay the price. I won't let them get a single cent. Didn't you say that I used money to insult your professionalism? In the end, didn't you two say that you were participating in the competition? Don't talk about the honor of scholars. You're here for the old man's money. Mr. Butler, Mr. Park, this is the sponsor of this World Language Conference, the chairman of Tianguang Agency, Mr. Changguang. Huang Changming also threw caution to the wind. Although Butler and Park Kangnam had high positions in the World Language Association, they were still far away. After thinking about it, he still couldn't afford to offend Chen Guang. He stood behind the two of them and patted their shoulders with his hands. Butler Guy and Park Kangdom couldn't pretend that they didn't see anything this time. The two of them turned their heads slightly and looked at Huang Changming. They snorted and said, "Hello, President Huang." The two of them still ignored Chen Guang. Chen Guang calculated in his heart. He couldn't let the two of them finish showing off like this. He had to talk to them. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to trick them. So he brought out his world-class acting skills. This time, a sincere smile bloomed on his face. It was the kind that could warm people's hearts. At the same time, he extended his hand to shake hands with the two of them. I don't believe that you can still pretend to be blind. The two of them were still facing Chen Guang. They looked at him, but their lips didn't seem to move at all. They were still sitting firmly on their chairs. Only a muffled sound came from their throats. Park Kangdom, Chen Guang, hello. Butler Guy said, hello. Then, the two of them didn't move. They just hung Chen Guang's hand in the air and turned their bodies to look in front of them. It was as if this matter didn't concern them. In addition, the two of them seemed to be deliberately not giving face to Chen Guang. Park Kingdom also used Korean, and Butler also used Turkish. Both of them could speak Mandarin. It was clear that they didn't give face at all. Huang Changming's face turned pale. He was already cursing in his heart. Are you too sick in the head? In any case, Chen Guang is half the host of this World Language Conference. As a guest, even if his previous performance wasn't right, and he was a bit too arrogant, you two don't even give him a chance to step down? To not give face to him to this extent, the two of you can be considered to be the first time in history. Not far away, Chu Zijin had been holding on to Chen Guang's phone and pointing it in their direction. She still faithfully played the role of a live broadcast host. Her pair of beautiful big eyes blinked as she stared straight at Chen Guang's face. She also wanted to know how Chen Guang would react in such a situation. Chen Guang was still smiling brilliantly. One couldn't tell that he was angry at all. He retracted his hand and put it in his pocket before saying, "Yo, bad asterisk SS male teacher. It isn't winter yet. Why is it so cold? Why is it so hard to take your hand out of your pocket?" Then, he didn't wait for Park Kingdom to speak. He turned his head and said to Butler, "Teacher Barrett, you too?" These two sentences were said in Chinese. Park Kingdom. My name is Park Kingdom. I'm not a bad asterisk SS male. Butler also said, I'm Butler, not a Barrett sniper rifle. Chen Guang laughed. It seems like the two of you know Chinese. Of course, there isn't a mainstream language that we don't know. Chen Guang suddenly glared at them. Then why were the two of you acting cool in front of me just now? Come in my territory. You know Chinese, but don't speak Chinese? I wanted to shake hands with you, but your hands seem to be frozen in your pockets. You call yourself a scholar? You call yourself an executive director? What kind of joke is this? Why are you acting cool? The two of them were instantly dumbfounded. Huang Changming didn't expect that Chen Guang, who was smiling just a moment ago, would suddenly turn hostile. Why are you looking at me? I'm talking about the two of you. I've seen many old hooligans, but I've never seen someone as bad as the two of you. Each of you looks to be equivalent to two of me. You're all people with one foot in the grave. Aren't you afraid of being laughed at by others for making life difficult for a young man like me? Chen Guang took advantage of his victory and continued to attack. The two of them were caught off guard by his sudden outburst. The two of them were well-respected scholars in the academic world. They had never encountered Chen Guang's style before. You're the chairman of a large company and a billionaire. How can you speak like this? Chen Guang's live broadcast room was filled with jubilation. I knew it. Brother All-Purpose is really mad. How can he be defeated like this? Teacher Barrett, Brother All-Purpose mouth is quite poisonous. Let's see what these two old fools will do. They will fight, right? I don't think so. They should know that Brother All-Purpose is good at fighting. They aren't stupid. Then they'll just admit defeat. On the other side, Huang Changming saw that the situation was worsening and didn't know what to do. After thinking about it, he still felt that it was better to be closer to Chen Guang. Thus, he tried to pull Chen Guang from behind and make him restrain himself. Unexpectedly, Pu Kangnam slammed the table and stood up. He glared at Chen Guang and said, "What do you mean by this?" Butler originally planned to endure it, but since his ally had already taken action, it wasn't good for him to continue holding it in. He also stood up. "Mr. Chen, you better give us an explanation. Otherwise, I'll think that you're humiliating us." Chen Guang crossed his hands and smiled insincerely. "What do I mean? That's right. I'm humiliating you. So what? You can't accept it? What do you intend to do? Everyone here is a reputable person. Do you want to fight? I'll keep you company. Although this is my territory, I promise I won't call for help. I'll deal with the two of you alone. Otherwise, people will say that I'm bullying the elderly. There's an old saying in China, refusing a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Now, I'll give it to the two of you. You only have this bit of skill with your mouth. Mr. Butler and I are both learned people. We won't lower ourselves to your level. Honestly speaking, this Pu Kangnam's Chinese was pretty good. His choice of words and sentences was quite good. It wasn't any worse than an authentic Chinese." Butler snorted and sat back on his chair. He looked at the empty space in front of him with a straight face. He put on an expression that said, "I'm a learned person and won't lower myself to your level." Chen Guang was overjoyed. It was about time to get on the right track. He snorted coldly. "Learned people? I don't think so. In my impression, learned people are all extremely cultured and self-restrained masters. I know that the two of you don't feel comfortable. I also admit that what I said in front of the reporters wasn't that humble. But I'm a young man. I haven't even graduated from university. I'm just a kid. I'm not sensible, right? But the two of you are different. You are both learned people, right? Why are you acting like hoodlums on the streets? I took the initiative to greet you, but you sat there and pretended to be mysterious. I wanted to shake hands with you, but you put me there? No matter how I look at it, it's the two of you who lost your share first, right?" Without waiting for the two of them to speak, he continued to attack. "The two of you started the fight first. Aren't you going to let me have a little temper?" Pu Kangnam's lips trembled. He couldn't say anything for a long time. "You." Butler's face was also flushed. The veins on his neck were bulging. He was panting heavily. He looked like a patient who had a heart attack. When it came to cursing, even if there were 80 to 100 Pu Kangnam and Butler added together, they still wouldn't be a match for Chen Guang. Moreover, Chen Guang had successfully turned the battlefield into Chinese. If it was another language, it wouldn't make any difference to him. However, Pooh Kingdom and Butler wouldn't have performed so badly. Chapter 861. That's because we can't stand the sight of you using money to humiliate knowledge. After a long time, Park Sang-nan finally found a suitable excuse for his and Butler's arrogance. Butler Gay also nodded. That's right. You simply don't know anything. You don't even know what language is. You can appear at this event and sit on this stage only because you have money. Chen Guang chuckled. That's not right. Since knowledge is so noble and money is so cheap in the eyes of the two of you, why did you sign up for tomorrow's competition? Didn't the two of you sign up for the prize money? The two of you are indeed very knowledgeable in your actions and actions. Do and set up? Although they could speak Chinese, Butler and Park Sang-nan didn't really understand Chen Guang's trendy internet slang. Chen Guang smiled again. Since you asked so sincerely, I'll be merciful and tell you. Do and set up means that you are a whore and also a chastity. You, be asterisk starred. Butler was so angry that his mouth was crooked. On the other side, Huang Changming saw that the situation couldn't be stopped and didn't want to let it escalate. He turned around and wanted to snatch the phone from Chu Zijin's hand. He heard that there was a live broadcast. This was a family scandal, and it couldn't be spread out. But Chu Zijin wouldn't let him succeed. She took a step to the side and glared at the president of the Chinese Language Association. CEO Chen didn't say to turn off the live broadcast, so you can't turn it off. Huang Changming's hand froze in midair. He didn't know whether he should snatch it or not. Chu Zijin tried to persuade him again, but she didn't bother him anymore. President Huang, it's fine. CEO Chen isn't an unreasonable person. Huang Changming was about to cry. CEO Chen wasn't an unreasonable person, but the other party was the one who provoked him first. He had a reason to flare up. This was also very difficult to deal with, okay? Didn't you see that many people in such a big venue were looking over here, as if they were watching a good show? Park Sang-nan slammed the table again. Nonsense. Barrett and I, oh no, Mr. Butler, just don't like the way you look down on the world's scholars. We want to teach you the principle that there will always be someone better than you out there. This has nothing to do with your smelly prize money. We're not interested in that bit of prize money. Chen Guang's eyes lit up. Really? Of course. Pu Sang-nan and Butler said at the same time. Chen Guang immediately seized the opportunity and said, Then I'll remember what you two said. Even if you get a ranking, I won't give you your bonus. Okay? Pu Sang-nan and Butler Guy were instantly anxious. This fellow was purposely digging a hole for them to jump into. Pu Sang-nan, how can this be? Are you kidding me? Butler was also anxious. What right do you have to cancel the prize money for such a large-scale competition? Even if you're sponsoring the competition, you can't do this. Chen Guang shrugged. But didn't you say that you weren't interested in the prize money? Pu Kangdom argues. Not being interested doesn't mean that we will hand over the benefits we deserve. This doesn't make sense. He felt extremely pained. He had just acted tough, but he didn't expect Chen Guang to have no bottom line. He treated the prize money of such a high-end competition as child's play. However, Chen Guang had the ability to do what he said. After all, he was the sponsor of the competition, and he would be the one to distribute the prize money. If he really did that, he would indeed lose face internationally, but his own situation wouldn't be any better. Wouldn't it be too shameful to say it out loud? She couldn't chase after him like a shrew on the street. Could she? That would really be a loss of face. How infuriating. Butler Gay also said heavily, That's right. Whether we want the bonus or not, and what to do with it after we get it, that's our business. But you can't just say no. Are you trying to turn this grand event into a farce? Chen Guang looked at the two teasingly. Look at you two being so coy. I feel tired for you. Puchi, Chu Zijin, who was the host of the live broadcast, couldn't help but cover her mouth and snicker. At this moment, Huang Changming finally reacted to Chen Guang's words. Why did the two of them suddenly talk about the prize money? Could that be his true motive? But this wasn't appropriate. Although Pu Kangdom and Butler were very annoying, a competition was a competition. Now that everyone was paying attention to it, How could he not distribute the prize money just because he said so? Far away in the Guangdong General Office building, the two deputy directors, Xianqin and Wu Miaoan, were supposed to be busy every day, shut the office door tightly, and hung a "Do Not Disturb" sign. They looked very busy, but in fact, the two of them were squatting in front of the computer, happily watching the live broadcast. I knew this guy would definitely do something. Xianqin looked as if she had already seen through Chen Guang's intentions. Wu Miaoan nodded repeatedly. That's right. Although this guy spends money extravagantly and gives the prize money as if it's free, others should at least give him face if they want to take his money. These two foreigners are too stupid. They want to show off and take money at the same time. How can it be such a good thing? Xianqin said. But isn't this a little too stiff? Even if this matter is over, I'm afraid it will affect him doing other similar things in the future, right? Wu Miaoan looked up at the ceiling and thought for a while. That's true, but he should have another way of saying it, right? The comments in Chen Guang's live broadcast were also filled with jubilation. Some people felt that he was going too far, being unreasonable because he was the sponsor of the competition, but more people were overjoyed. What are you guys using to argue with Brother Allrounder? This is called showing off for a moment. And now, they're sending Brother Allrounder's entire family to the crematorium. Brother Allrounder is right. These two old thieves want to make money, but they're still stubborn and pretend to be noble and cool. They're too cunning. That's right, they're not straightforward at all. If they like money, they can just say it. It's not like it's something shameful. What do you guys know? They're all learned people, and they're very elegant. How can they bow down for 5 buckets of rice? But the prize pool is 100 million, which can buy tens of millions of tons of rice. Then their waists have already been broken. Now, they're just stubborn. How pitiful. I'm about to have an outbreak of the cancer of awkwardness just by looking at them. Cancer of awkwardness +1. In a live broadcast, Chen Guang spoke again. It looks like the two of you are very confident. You've even thought of how to spend the prize money. Pu Kangnam and Butler said in unison, Of course. The two of them were not unconfident. The two of them were able to become the permanent directors of the World Language Association because they were rare Broca area awakened. In addition, they had been immersed in languages for many years, and each of them had mastered more than 30 languages. They were truly talented. But I don't think so. There's an ancient saying in Huaxia, to have both virtue and talent. Huaxia people pay attention to learning how to be a person first before learning how to do knowledge. I don't see much virtue in you guys, and I don't think you're talented. Pu Kangnam said heavily. Bullsh *T. There are no more than 10 linguists in the world who could be compared to me and Butler. Butler guy nodded. That's right. Then let's make a bet. Chen Guang finally showed his fox's tail. Tang Ying, who had been secretly watching the live broadcast from her office in Wujing City Hospital, immediately stood up. It appeared. What a familiar expression. This guy is using this shameless trick again. It looks like he's really confident. These two old things are going to be in big trouble. Wait a minute. Tang Ying's body stiffened again. Although she didn't know what he wanted to bet on, it was definitely related to him winning the competition. Those two old foreigners would be in big trouble if they lost, but she wouldn't be any better off either. Tang Ying's face turned red, and her right hand gently rubbed her chest. She didn't know why, but she had a bad premonition. She felt sorry for her chest in advance. This guy is so fierce. I won't be crushed by him, right? I won't have a few broken ribs, right? Forget it. When the boat reaches the bridgehead, it will straighten itself out. Things haven't happened yet, so there's no need to think so much. Pu Kangnam and Butler guy were indeed fooled. Pu Kangnam, let's bet. Butler, what are we betting on? With a smile, Chen Guang continued, seeing how confident you guys are, I feel that the championship is already in my bag. I'll bet with you. If I become the champion, no matter what your ranking is, I will donate the prize money to a charity organization researching Lou Gehrig's disease. If I lose the championship, no matter what your ranking is, I will give you 3 times the prize money. That's right, 3 times. How about it? Do you want to bet? Butler and Pu Kangnam were stunned. Their minds were spinning fast, and they almost thought they had heard wrongly. If Mr. Butler or I win the championship, the prize money will be tripled. Chen Guang snorted. That's right. I'm a man of my word. I will never go back on it. Then, he waved at Chu Ziqing and pointed at the mobile phone in Miss Chu's hand. I am broadcasting right now. Tens of millions of viewers in my broadcasting room are listening. They are all witnesses. I will do what I say. I can even get someone to write a contract on the spot. How about it? Do you dare to bet? Actually, there are only about 2 million viewers in the broadcasting room. But since he didn't have to pay taxes for bragging, it was already considered low-key that he didn't brag to 17 billion. Pu Kangnam and Butler Guy looked at each other. They could see the light in each other's eyes getting brighter and brighter. No matter who won the championship, the prize money would increase from 50 million renminbi to 150 million renminbi. Even if they didn't win the championship, getting into the top 5 or top 3 would still be tens of millions of RMB. The most important thing was, how was Chen Guang going to win the championship? Including the two of them, there were at least 5 or 6 awakened ones from the Broca region who came to participate in the competition. Only God knew how many peerless geniuses were attracted by the huge prize money. Basically, all the geniuses from all over the world had come. There were many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in this competition. Where did this guy get his confidence from? As long as the competition was fair and just, the probability of him winning the championship was almost negligible. Then it's settled. Chapter 862. The competition of the World's Language Conference had attracted a lot of attention. Numerous people were watching the competition, so it was impossible for him to cheat. Moreover, the audience was not stupid. Everyone was watching. Even if he was a black whistle, his results would not be recognized by the world. So he would win for sure. This is a bet with a small capital, but great profits. Won't we win all your underwear? Lu Xiaoliang, who happened to pass by, overheard Chen Guang's words. He rushed up anxiously and said, President Chen, don't do this. We don't have enough cash in the company. The***in, this guy is here again. He is a professional at destroying morale and boosting others' prestige for 20 years. Chen Guang waved his hand. It doesn't matter. I have enough cash. Seeing this, Pu and Ba said at the same time for fear that Chen Guang would go back on his word. Okay, we accept the bet. It was Lu Xiaoliang's advice that made them make a decision and eliminate the last hesitation in their hearts. Chen Guang was stunned for a moment. He thought they would push him again. He didn't expect these two old guys would be so decisive. Then he realized it was Lu Xiaoliang's hindrance that made them make up their minds. He was overjoyed. Buttface is awesome. Chen Guang waved his hand happily. Buttface, did you hear what I said just now? Go and prepare a contract. Just write it according to what I said just now. Bring it to us now and let us sign it. President Chen, this, Lu Xiaoliang still wanted to persuade him. Chen Guang put on a straight face. Just do it. Don't talk nonsense. Even if I lose, the company will not be affected. I told you it is my personal investment. Alas. Okay. Lu Xiaoliang left with his head hung low. Seeing Lu Xiaoliang's frustration, Pu Tsangnan and Butler Gay were even more complacent. Huang Changming was also dumbfounded. He had never expected that Chen Guang would make such a strange bet after chatting with these two guys. Looking left, right, up, and down, I feel that Chen Guang is the one suffering a loss. Was there any other explanation for this other than having too much money? Forget it. It was his own money anyway. He was rich and could do whatever he wanted. Chu Zijin's mouth was wide open and her face was full of confusion. Although she was not short of money, she had never seen Chen Guang spend money so extravagantly. No, this could no longer be called extravagant. This was simply F***king retarded. Fortunately, I am your fanatical fan. Fortunately, in my heart, you are very strong. Fortunately, I feel that you will most likely win. If it were someone else, they would have probably called the mental hospital. There was also an uproar in Chen Guang's live stream. Is Brother Almighty crazy? Did they think 140 million wasn't enough to make them explode? I know these two. They're very powerful. It's entirely possible for them to win a championship. More than 3,000 people are participating in the competition. Who would bet like this? Isn't this a free gift? He should bet on the two of them winning the championship or achieving some ranking. Who would bet on themselves winning the championship? Let's make the worst assumption. One of these two people wins the championship and the other is the second place. Let's calculate. How much prize money does Brother Almighty have to pay out? The prize money for the first place is 50 million, and the prize money for the second place is 20 million. I count with my fingers a total of 240 million. It's 140 million more than what he planned to pay before, including the 40 million investment that the World Language Club has already taken out. A total of 280 million will be spent. This money is not money at all. That's right. Does he have so much money? God knows. Not to mention the people in the barrage. Even Jean Shuriwei and Jiang Yage, who were secretly watching the live stream, began to discuss in their hearts whether they should pay out of their own pockets to help this crazy and unstoppable guy. On the other hand, Lu Fei, who was still inspecting the project in Wutua town, was relatively calm. She knew that Chen Guang had won a large sum of money in the Xiangjiang car race and had not used it yet. He should be able to afford it if he spent all his money. On the campus of Gokyo University, Lin Jingwei and the others, who were also watching the live stream, did not want to say a word. Xiaonger, it's over. Brother Guang secretly stopped taking the medicine again. Little Lin, why didn't you go to Yanjing to stop him? Gaoya accused. Lin Jingwei felt wronged. I didn't know he was so crazy. Bai Fan was in tears. So much money. So much money. How good would it be for me to make a movie or TV series? How big of a production could it be? Brother Guang, why do you have to make life so difficult for yourself? My heart hurts so much that I can't breathe. Son Xiaoxuan, if he is really bankrupt, what can I do to comfort him? With a heavy heart, Yu Hong and Lu Xiaoliang finished drafting the VM agreement. They printed and stamped it and brought it to Chen Guang, Butler, and the others. Under the gaze of countless people and cursing Chen Guang in their hearts, Chen Guang and the other two signed their names and stamped their thumbs. The contract took effect immediately. Chen Guang shook his hand. The contract has 4 copies. 1 for each of you, 1 for me, and 1 for my company. That's it. Lu Xiaoliang and Yu Hong, happy your face. How blind and unlucky do we have to be to work for your company? When Chen Guang finally sat down on a rostrum and no longer looked for trouble, Lu Xiaoliang carefully probed, Mr. Chen, why don't we cash in the 100,000 yen first? I don't know why, but I suddenly have a strong urge to go home and work as a farmer. Chen Guang stepped on Lu Xiaoliang's foot. I was going to praise you for your cooperation. If you hadn't pretended to be a coward, they wouldn't have agreed so quickly. President Chen, I was not pretending to be a coward. I was really a coward, okay? Why don't you be a coward with me? How can you bet like this? Are you stupid? Chen Guang curled his lips. What do you know? I didn't leave any money for them. I know the reason, but I can't understand it. So, I am President Chen, and you are butt-face. You can only work for me. Ordinary people don't understand the realm of the old man. Learn from him. Chen Guang spread his hands. Lu Xiaoliang, I can't learn it. On the other side, Pu Tsangnan and Butler Guy, who had made a bet with Chen Guang, were feeling very pleased with themselves. There were actually quite a few people who came to congratulate them in advance. Chen Guang looked at them quietly. Others laugh at me for being crazy, but I laugh at them for not seeing through me. Oh, President Chen, have you prepared a speech for the academic conference? Huang Changming, who was sitting next to him, spent a lot of effort to calm himself down and try to find something to talk about. Chen Guang shook his head. I won't speak. I didn't prepare a speech. Moreover, didn't you see the way those academics look at me? I guess they don't like to hear me speak. Then what are you going to do today? Chen Guang pondered for a moment. Just treat me as a mascot. I'll just be sitting here as a decoration to show that Tianguang's management regards today's meeting with great importance. There's no other use. Is that so? Okay. When it's about time, I will escape. You guys can do whatever you want. That's not a good idea. I have to go to the Shudian Film City later. The women that I invested in is being filmed there. It's very busy. Chen Guang found a good excuse for himself to escape. Chu Zijin, who had been acting as a cameraman and host behind him, rolled her eyes silently. Save it. Although I'm not from your company, I'm quite clear about your movements. Ever since the press conference, you haven't called Director Deng at all. Now you're concerned about the movie you invested in? Furthermore, who would sit in the center of the podium escape? They're not blind. Chu Zijin was actually a little regretful. Just like how Chen Guang didn't have much of an impression of her, her impression of Chen Guang wasn't as perfect as she had imagined through the screen or the internet. Once upon a time, the omnipotent Superman in her heart, although not a man of indomitable spirit, was definitely brimming with talent, brimming with an aura that made people admire him. At least in his videos and live shows, he was such a perfect and impeccable person. He had never failed. No matter what he did, others could only bow to him. Now that she had seen him in person, she could not see his talent for the time being. But his temperament was not like Zhuge Liang's, who was wise and resourceful. Instead, he did things in all kinds of ways, without any pattern, and always seemed to like to make decisions. His way of doing things without considering the cause and effect at all made Chu Zijin feel a little disappointed. Forget it. Let's wait and see for a while more. Maybe she had pictured him too perfectly in her mind before. Just like those internet beauties, they were all beautiful like fairies in photos, but when they met in person, they were all demons and ghosts. Listening to the bewitching sound, Chen Guang yawned heavily. He regretted coming to this place more and more. It was really boring beyond imagination. Those scholars and researchers were on the podium talking about their results from last year. The people in the venue were scholars from all over the world. At the very least, they were insiders who had signed up for tomorrow's competition. These people were all listening with great interest. As the highest forum in the world of linguistics, those who were allowed to speak at the conference were really capable. For example, it was written in the conference's table of contents. Today's topics were all-inclusive and of extremely high levels. Where did he discover a new language system? What new rules have been found in the teaching and learning methods of a certain language? What new achievements had been made in the systematic learning method of the Latin department? When humans were learning to communicate, which part of the brain was the most active? Using electric pulses to stimulate the brain, whether it could effectively enhance language learning ability. Humans of different races and languages, whether the part of the brain in charge of communication was in the same place, and so on. Chapter 863. Chen Guang found the things that other people liked boring. Fortunately, I caught these two pretentious old fools. Otherwise, I would have wasted my entire morning. If he hadn't come today, these two wouldn't have had the chance to act pretentious, but they would still not take him seriously in their hearts. Even if he won the championship, he would still have to give them money. Just thinking about it made him feel as uncomfortable as eating a fly. Now, his thoughts were quite clear. It was as if he had been constipated for a long time. Huang Changming didn't give him the chance to pee. He stared at him the whole time. After all, the main seat in the center of the podium was too conspicuous. It would be too much of a bummer if someone was missing from the podium while the others were talking about the thesis. Chen Guang had no choice but to change his mind. He planned to leave after the meeting was over. Chu Zijin sat behind Chen Guang and pointed her phone at the back of Chen Guang's head. Although she didn't major in linguistics, she was still very interested in the research results shared by these scholars. On the other hand, Chen Guang's live stream was filled with sorrow, and the number of viewers was also dropping. The reason was simple. The thesis was in English. Most people couldn't understand it, and there was no simultaneous translation. Moreover, even if they could understand it, they would find it boring if they weren't in the relevant industry. Even Chen Guang felt uncomfortable sitting in his chair, not to mention the other viewers who could only look at the back of his head. Yeah, Chen Guang couldn't hold it in. He opened his mouth wide and yawned. Tears even came out of his eyes. Huang Changming was very embarrassed. He whispered, "Mr. Chen, hold on a little longer. When Butler Gay finishes his thesis, it will be lunch break." Chen Guang was rubbing his eyes. When he heard it was Butler's thesis, he suddenly became energetic. That guy has a thesis too? What's it about? Huang Changming opened the conference proceedings. Mr. Chun, it's all written here. It's a study of the Sangmo tribe in the Amazon of South America. When Chun Guang flipped to this page, his eyes slowly brightened. Huang Changming got goosebumps from the look in his eyes. He already had experience with this. President Chen seemed to be happy, which meant that he was up to no good. Interesting, very interesting, Chen Guang whispered as he watched. Huang Changming broke out in a cold sweat. Are you all right? Chen Guang ignored him and turned to look at Butler Gay, who was also on the podium and 5 or 6 people away from him. Coincidentally, that guy was also sneaking a peek at Chen Guang. Sparks flew as their gazes met. Butler Gay raised his eyebrows provocatively. He then looked at the thesis collection in his hand and gestured at Chen Guang. His meaning couldn't be more obvious. Take a good look, kid. This is my academic achievement. What do you have? Chen Guang's smile widened. As an honorary professor at Oxford, Butler Gay's main purpose in attending this conference was to participate in the competition and earn some prize money. However, with his status in the academic world, since he was already here, he certainly could not come empty-handed. He had to say something at the conference so that his reputation would not be tarnished. It just so happened that his recent research had just matured. It was just right for him to choose to present the relevant thesis at the world's highest academic conference. The content of his thesis came from an endangered indigenous language called Sangmo that he discovered 5 years ago during his research in South America. As a brand new language that had just been discovered, the Sangmo language was very representative and had typical research value. Unlike other South American languages, this indigenous language was easy to use. It could be communicated with extremely simple words and sounds, and it had formed a script that was completely different from the Latin family. If this small language could be successfully organized and perfected, on the one hand, it could enrich the variety of human languages. On the other hand, it could also help other people to study and further improve the Esperanto that had not yet been popularized. As the discoverer of this language and the first linguist to systematically organize and study it, Butler Gay was worthy of his status as a permanent member of the Esperanto Association to present this result at the world's highest level conference. Even if there were others who followed up on the research, they would be a few months behind him and their progress would be lagging behind. They could only supplement his research results. Of course, he had the right to be proud. Didn't this guy named Chen Guang say that he had no talent? I'll show you what it means to be a scholar and what it means to have a standard. Thank you, everyone. That's all for my speech. The previous speaker finally ended a speech that made Chen Guang drowsy. Sparse applause sounded. Obviously, this guy's thesis did not attract much attention. At best, it was just a fill-in. Butler stood up from his chair and strode straight to the main podium. His steps were firm, and he was in high spirits. He knew how valuable the thesis in his hand was. He could even imagine what kind of applause he would receive after he finished speaking. If there were no surprises, this result of his should be one of the highest achievements in the world of linguistics this year. At that time, even if he did not leave his name in the history of the world, at least in the world of linguistics, his status would be greatly improved. Next year would be the time for the re-election of the Esperanto Association. The old president would also reach the retirement age. He had been in the position of a permanent member for many years. In his entire academic report, he used concise language to outline the language of the Sangmo tribe, presenting it to the world. His report was able to arouse the interest of others without exposing the core results of his research. More importantly, he clearly told everyone that he only needed a little more than a year to completely master the Sangmo language. Even if others followed up on their research, they would only be able to eat his dust. He got a great bargain. Anyone can do something like this, but he just happened to run into it. Huang Changming didn't like what he heard. He was filled with envy and jealousy, but at the same time, perhaps he wanted to please Chen Guang, so he said this on purpose. Chen Guang smiled indifferently. It's not necessarily a bargain. I think he is still far from it. Huh? Huang Changming didn't understand. Chen Guang waved his hand. You'll know later. The Sangmo language isn't that simple. President Chen, you know it? Chen Guang snorted. I know a thing or two. I'm afraid you'll be scared to death if I say it out loud. This Sangmo language, which is almost obsolete in the eyes of others, is mastered by no more than 20,000 people, is actually like my mother tongue to me. Chu Zijin, who was behind the two of them, silently rolled her eyes. She held the microphone and muttered softly, You're really boasting. You can't possibly know all the languages in this world, right? Countless people in Chen Guang's live broadcast room were also laughing and making a ruckus. Brother All-Rounder is getting more and more shameless. I like how shameless he is. Chen Guang turned around and glanced at her, then looked at his phone and smiled at the camera. Then, his face suddenly became extremely serious and gloomy. Chu Zijin felt goosebumps when she saw his expression. She thought to herself, he can't be so petty, right? She had only teased him by saying that he was boasting shamelessly. Did he have to be like this? Chen Guang snorted. Oomph. You know too much. Chu Zijin, the live comments. His left and right hand in front of the live broadcast, the two deputy directors of the Guangdong General Administration, Wu Tong, Tang Ying, and Lin Jingwei from Gokyo University, all let out a puff. F***CK. He's so pretentious. Chapter 864. Butler Gay's paper finally came to an end. All right, that's all for today. Please feel free to ask your questions. Currently, the research on the Sangmo language has entered the final stage of systematic induction. There's nothing I can't say. I have a question. The moment he said it, Chen Guang stood up abruptly from the rostrum in the front row and said in a loud voice. Butler froze and stared blankly at Chen Guang, who was only a few meters away from him. His mind was blank as he thought, this is an academic conference. What can this guy ask? The huge conference hall was also silent for a moment. It was so silent that even a pin drop could be heard. Then, people began to whisper to each other. The scholars were confused. What the hell was going on? Many people had seen Chen Guang's drowsy and absent-minded appearance when someone else was giving a speech. They knew that the knowledge that they viewed as a treasure was meaningless in the eyes of those who weren't professionals. As a rich young man, Chen Guang sat here today to boost the reputation of the World's Language Club, which he sponsored. He had shown enough respect to Chen Guang, and there was no reason to force him to pretend to be a good student and listen attentively to the lecture. There was nothing wrong with this. Although some people would look down on his ignorant and incompetent appearance, there was no reason to criticize him. But why did he suddenly have something to say after Butler threw out such a heavyweight academic paper? Could it be that Chen Guang, the sponsor of the World's Language Club, wanted to cause trouble and ruin things because of the conflict between them? This is too much. In Chen Guang's live stream room, he's coming. Brother All-Rounder is going to show off. Who can stop him? Only a thunderstorm can strike him to death, right? Obviously, it's impossible. Here's the problem. This is a high-level academic conference, and he's giving a speech in public. He can't scold him, right? What's he going to do? God knows. Let's just watch quietly. Even those who were familiar with Chen Guang were at a loss, let alone the viewers in the live streaming room. They really did not think that he could say anything high-level. Only Wu Tong, who knew how good he was curious. This Sangmo language was not as unpopular as the Buromura language that he had deciphered previously. Perhaps this fellow was really proficient in it. Mr. Chen, do you have any objections? Butler Gay suppressed the anger in his heart and said coldly with a calm face. Chen Guang waved his hand. It's nothing, Mr. Butler. I have some doubts about one of the statements in your academic report, and I have to say it out loud. Butler thought to himself, Shut up, you ignorant and incompetent nouveau riche. Don't embarrass yourself. However, he squeezed out a playful smile. Oh, please go ahead. He really did not believe that Chen Guang could really have any insights. Just now, you said that the Sangmo language is similar to the Chinese language. There are no differences in the past tense and past present tense. However, there are differences in the description of some nouns for males and females. For example, males and females use different words for the same thing. You call this the use of masculine and feminine words, right? Chen Guang suddenly asked. Butler was stunned. This was indeed the content of his thesis, and it was also a question that he had yet to solve. Yes, but sometimes the males in the Sangmo tribe will also use feminine expressions. This phenomenon still needs to be researched. So you don't understand? Chen Guang continued to press him. Yes, I don't know why. Was there a problem with that? Butler really did not think that there was anything wrong with him. This was an unfinished research anyway. Chen Guang laughed. But I can tell you why. In fact, the so-called masculine and feminine nouns have nothing to do with gender. Impossible. I have interviewed at least hundreds of Sangmo tribe members. My data sample is large enough. You are spouting nonsense. Butler waved his hand angrily. Chen Guang, although you are the sponsor of the World Language Club, I hope that you will not interfere with the normal proceedings of the meeting because of your personal conflicts. There are still many people who want to ask questions. Indeed, many people were currently sizing up Chen Guang with extremely unhappy gazes. Lord Guang turned a blind eye to these strange gazes and continued. The reason why you have such an illusion is because you do not have sufficient understanding of the history and culture of the Sangmo tribe. Butler said, illusion? Are you trying to make me laugh? Do you know that you look like a clown now? Clown? No. Very soon, you will be a clown, Director Butler. Chen Guang waved his hand and walked up to the podium. He stood in front of Butler and said heavily, I will tell you clearly now that your so-called feminine and masculine is simply the difference between day and night. It is not some laughable difference between men and women. Chen Guang clasped his hands behind his back and continued. Before the 18th century, in the Sangmo tribe, regardless of whether it was men or women, when they talked about the difference between yin and yang, they would use the difference between day and night. It is not feminine and masculine. Butler was obviously not easily swayed. Are you joking? The female Sangmo tribe members I interviewed used feminine words even during the day. That is because in the past, women had a low status in the Sangmo tribe. They were absolutely forbidden from going out during the day. The men of the tribe were basically out hunting during the day, and women could only communicate with others at night. The frequency of women using nighttime words was much higher than daytime words. As time passed, the daytime words were gradually forgotten and abandoned by women. The women of the Sangmo tribe even started using nighttime words during the day. Even earlier, when the Sangmo tribe was still a matriarchal society, when the Sangmo tribe's language was first born, it was completely based on the difference between day and night. For example, the few words that you use to differentiate between masculine and feminine words, such as sun, moon, light, wolf, bat, owl, and so on. Think about it. Among these things, the sun and light only appear during the day, while the moon only appears during the night. Wolves, owls, and bats are also animals that are active at night. Knife, flowing water, big tree. Why are there no differences between masculine and feminine words? Can you explain it clearly? You also said that the men of the Sangmo tribe would also use feminine words. You don't understand the reason, but let me tell you why. It is because you interviewed them at night. Of course, in the recent years, there have been changes. No matter what kind of language it is, it will definitely evolve and develop in a direction that is more convenient for communication. In the recent years, with the evolution of time, the distinction between day and night in some words is no longer as clear. This is because the women of this tribe often use nighttime words during the day. Some of the men of this tribe are also influenced and will occasionally use nighttime words during the day. Let me tell you how they use to differentiate day and night. It is not the clock that we commonly use, but the sundial. When the sundial scale crosses the needle that represents the night, they will switch some words to the nighttime words. Do you understand now? Chairman Butler. Oh, right, there's one more thing. The reason why you can't learn about this history from the Sangmo people is because about 200 years ago, they were massacred by another large tribe. Their population dropped from more than 100,000 to less than 30,000. Their historical records were burned to ashes, and many of their respected elders were killed or injured. Their historical inheritance was broken. Butler was dumbfounded. He wanted to say that Chen Guang was just spouting nonsense, but he could not help but recall the various phenomena that he had encountered when he came into contact with the Sangmo tribe. If what Chen Guang said was true, then there was a reasonable explanation for these phenomena. In the history of the Sangmo tribe, there was a great poet called Nidai. It was this poet who organized the originally scattered and disorderly Sangmo language into a system and simplified their inherited language. Now, I will read a poem of his for you to listen to. Forest, you are so beautiful. Zebra, you have 4 legs. The dark night gave me big black eyes, but I used them to peep at the widow Wang next door bathing. The last part was read by Chen Guang in fluent Sangmo language. Unfortunately, Butler didn't really understand what he was saying. Even though these words were pronounced in the standard Sangmo language, they were still relatively rare. With Butler's current knowledge of the Sangmo language, he could roughly distinguish the words forest, Ibra, for legs, dark night, eyes, and a woman living alone. The only thing he could be sure of was that Chen Guang had completely mastered the Sangmo language. This, Butler stuttered, his face filled with confusion. How could this be? He did not understand. Other than his own research team, he had never heard of any other team going deep into the Amazon jungle to interact with the Sangmo tribe that was about to disappear. Where did Chen Guang learn this from? Also, how did he know so many things that he did not know? Who was this person called Nidai? Was there such a great existence? Why did he deliberately transliterate Nidai's name into Chinese? Was he mocking me? Chen Guang crossed his hands. What? You don't understand? Mr. Butler, you have been studying the Sangmo language for 5 years. You don't understand such a famous poem? Butler clenched his teeth and said, How could I not understand it? When he said this, he admitted one thing in front of everyone. Chen Guang was indeed speaking the Sangmo language. Then why don't you translate it for us? This poem praises the forest, praises animals like zebras, and the dark night gives the poet black eyes. Lastly, it says that he misses the woman living alone far away. This poem is full of romantic feelings. Nidai is indeed a great poet. Chen Guang almost laughed out loud. There was no such thing as a great poet named Nidai. Of course, this poem was also made up by him. It was just that he had translated it into the Sangmo language. Your translation is basically correct. Next, I will say it in Chinese. The one who wrote this poem is your grandpa. The first line is, You are so beautiful in the forest. Your grandpa. Butler was stunned and could not react for a moment. On the other hand, Chen Guang's live broadcast room was filled with cheers. Everyone was saying that he was a scammer. The second line is, You're a zebra with 4 legs. The third line is, The dark night gives me a big black eye. That's right, a big eye. The fourth line is, I use this big eye to peep at widow Wang next door bathing. Butler finally came to his senses. Are you messing with me? Chen Guang snorted. No, this is indeed a poem written by Nidai. He tried hard not to laugh out loud. Anyway, he would not admit it even if he was beaten to death. Perhaps the poet named Nidai was really so wretched? Butler's face turned red as he gnashed his teeth. He wanted to bite Chen Guang to death, but he knew that he couldn't make a move. He had seen Chen Guang's performance in the international wrist strength competition, and Chen Guang's fist was more than enough to send 2 of him to hell. Chen Guang laughed. All right, let's call it a day. In a few days, I will also publish a book called the Sangmo Dictionary. In this book, I will systematically and completely organize this language. According to my estimation, with my book as the teaching material, children in their teens will be able to completely master this language in less than 2 years of systematic learning. You are right about one thing. The Sangmo language is indeed a rare small language that is easy to learn and has high practical value. Since Chairman Butler is interested in this language, please remember to buy 2 books to support me. With that, Chen Guang ignored him and turned to leave. In an instant, he disappeared from the entrance of the venue. Not only was Chen Guang going to slap him in the face in public, but he was also going to take drastic measures to make his research meaningless. He was going to make him feel so much pain that he began to doubt his life. Chu Zijin jogged all the way and asked behind him, Is there really a poet named Nide? Shen Guang rolled his eyes. You believe my nonsense? I'm scolding him. Chu Zijin said, but the poem you recited just now is completely in line with the grammatical structure and pronunciation analyzed in Butler's report. Do you really understand it? Shen Guang took his phone from her hand and turned off the live broadcast. Then he grunted. Of course, I never brag. So you really understand all the languages? I've already said that I never brag. If you have nothing else to do, let's call it a day. I'll see you tomorrow. The whole morning was wasted. Shen Guang was in a hurry to go back to the hotel to play games and practice. As for Big Beard Deng, who was filming at the Film City, what did I say before? He had completely lost his memory. He went back to the hotel, played games, and practiced his inner force. All in one go. Halfway through, he received a few calls. While he completed a counterattack with one hand, he joked with a few acquaintances to clear the name of the poet, damn you. At the same time, he also heard from Lu Xiaoyang that Butler didn't come to the afternoon meeting. He heard that he was so angry that he couldn't breathe properly. Shen Guang deeply sympathized with him and sincerely hoped that he could live to see tomorrow. While he was playing games, his performance at the World Language Conference in the morning appeared on the internet in two different ways. The first scene was a first-person view shot by Chu Zijin with her mobile phone. The second scene was a 4K HD VR video jointly produced by 5 livestream-related companies. Of course, there was also an ordinary HD version. Both scenes only showed one thing. It was the video of him flipping the table after Butler's academic speech. What happened to being ignorant and incompetent? What happened to bragging? Something didn't seem right. This guy really knew the Sangmo language. What kind of language was that? They had never heard of it before. No one understood where he learned it from. But the fact was that he stunned everyone at the conference. He even said that he was going to publish a book and write teaching materials. It didn't seem like he was joking. Brother Almighty was really a foreign language guru? This horrifying thought slowly rose in everyone's heart. Forget it. We'll find out tomorrow. Time flew, and it was the next morning. Shen Guang stood in front of Yu Hong and the others with 2 dark circles under his eyes. He was quite embarrassed. Sigh. It was all his fault for accidentally saying the taboo language last night. He slept after losing a game. Then he won until the morning. Mr. Chun, have you been busy all night? Fong Tianyu was too embarrassed to say that Shen Guang had been playing games. Shen Guang grunted. Yes. Since I said that I would publish teaching materials for the Sangmo language, of course I can't go back on my words. I'm organizing the information. His lying skills were getting better and better. He could do it with ease. His face didn't change, and his heart didn't jump. He even managed to fool himself. Yu Hong said weakly, All right. I hope you can perform better today. Originally, he had used the Sangmo language to boost everyone's morale. But now, it had fallen to rock bottom. Our Mr. Chun was really fresh and unconventional. He had stayed up all night before the competition. Finally, the most exaggerated world language conference competition in history was about to begin. The prize money was as high as 100 million in cash, and the potential prize money was as high as 240 million renminbi. On the bamboo platform, Chen Guang's personal live stream had not started yet. Since the morning, more than 5 million viewers had flooded in, and the number was still rising. It was almost the same on the overseas online live stream platform, Twitch. The Central TV Entertainment Channel's morning gymnastics program, which no one usually paid attention to, had a viewership rating of less than 0.1%. When the competition officially started, the viewership rating would definitely soar. Although there was a time difference between Sky Sports and ABC, their viewership ratings were still very high. It was even comparable to the UEFA Champions League and NFL Finals. Relying on his personal influence and unparalleled commercial hype, he had turned the originally useless world language conference competition into a program that was popular all over the world. No matter what, Chen Guang, who was once the #1 internet celebrity in China and now the #1 internet celebrity in the world, could die without regrets even if he lost the competition. those advertising sponsors, and the 5 livestream companies that had invested in him because they trusted his ability were laughing so hard that their mouths were about to split open. Even the old men in Yanjin who had been sitting calmly on the fishing platform were left speechless by such a terrifying scene. They had asked Tang Xiaokai to invest money in his company in the hope that he would make a big commotion. But now, in the blink of an eye, this guy was about to turn the world upside down. Chapter 865. In a large conference room, the group of old men were discussing the matter of Chun Guang in full swing during the break of the meeting. According to Little Chun, it seems that it will be difficult for us to promote him. That's right. It seems that he doesn't have any awareness in this area. Forget it. Everyone has their own ambitions. He is the same as Little Lin. He doesn't seem to have any interest in politics. When he was appointed as the director of the Guangdong General Administration, it was a bit like forcing a duck onto a perch. He didn't particularly care about it. We were also forced by the situation. The Wen family's patriarch only recognized him, and there was no better choice. Now it seems that his ambition is not here. Now that the Special Affairs Bureau has been destroyed, there are more and more martial arts sects that choose to strengthen communication and cooperation with us. In the future, the Guangdong General Administration will be a special agency in the new situation. We can't repeat the mistakes of the past. We can't let the Special Affairs Bureau repeat itself. If used well, it will be a national weapon. If not used well, it will be too big and unreliable. Therefore, the person at the helm of the Guangdong General Administration must be reliable in terms of ideology. According to our observation of Chun Guang so far, there's no problem with his personal character. Of course, the most important thing is that we can't arrange a useless, mediocre person just for the sake of stability. We must also be able to coordinate various relationships. In addition, he must have a strong enough personal charm to convince those arrogant inner force martial artists. So, whether he is willing or not, it seems that we can only use him. That's right. That's the logic. Forget it. Let him be. Who would have thought that such a high-profile internet celebrity would be at the helm of the Guangdong General Administration? That's right. Extraordinary people do extraordinary things. Chun Guang is a talented person. Since we instructed the Tang Jie Fund to help him establish the company, his actions have become more and more high-profile. He is preparing for a rainy day. So far, he has done a good job. At the beginning, we asked him to do more things to divert the attention of martial artists. Not only did he understand our intentions, but he also took the initiative to divert the attention. He did it so well. What talent. He's simply a genius. At such a young age, he's already so far-sighted. He understands the principle that the most dangerous place is the safest place. In the eyes of these old men, Chun Guang had become a peerless genius. If he knew what the old men were thinking at this time, he would probably scream in his heart that he was wronged. Old gentleman, you think too much. I don't have such profound thinking. I just want to show off. In order to demonstrate the fairness of the competition, especially since Chun Guang was the chairman of the sponsor of the competition, he had to be cautious before the competition. Therefore, he asked Chu Zijin to hold Liu Xiaoyang's mobile phone and broadcast the whole process from the waiting room to the resting area. When the competition officially started, his personal live broadcast room would be synchronized with the main stage's signal. As for now, Bamboo Platform had moved the draw on the main stage to another live broadcast channel. The crazy Xiao Tsong, in order to gain the favor of the network celebrity, simply opened up 2 channels in Chun Guang's personal live broadcast room. No matter which room the audience clicked on, they were all fans of Chun Guang's personal live broadcast room. Therefore, Chun Guang had unknowingly created a new record. He became the first super live broadcast host in China to have 2 private live broadcast rooms. Chu Zijin, who is also a live broadcast host of Bamboo Platform, was also shocked by this treatment. Chu Zijin said with slight jealousy, "Chang Xiaotsong treats you too well. Even I, your fan, can't stand it." Chun Guang was playing with his mobile phone and reading a novel. Without raising his head, he said, "Xiao Chu, your faith is not pious enough. I didn't take a penny from bamboo platform, nor did I ask for a salary. Brother Xiaozong is supporting me in this aspect. It's only right and proper. Yes, yes, yes. Brother Almighty is invincible. Perfect. Quite costly. Chu Zijin teased him according to the bullet screen in the live broadcast room. Then she said, "The draw is about to happen. Aren't you going to prepare in advance? What if you're the first to be drawn?" Chen Guang shrugged nonchalantly. A truly powerful warrior is always summoned and will fight as soon as they are summoned. Don't use the logic of ordinary people to analyze a talent like me. Chu Zijin felt that she really couldn't have a good chat with him. 300 years ago and 300 years later, there won't be anyone stronger than me. Chen Guang put down his phone and looked at Chu Zijin seriously. This sounds familiar. You must have remembered wrongly. All right, what are the rules of the competition? Oh my God, you actually don't know the rules of the competition? Of course, I'm so busy and don't have time to look. No one told me. That's because you didn't ask. If those subordinates in your company knew you were like this, they would probably die of anger. No, if they were that weak, they would have died of anger long ago. They wouldn't be alive today. The two of them chatted in the live broadcast room as if there was no one else around, but the bullet screen was completely shocked by Chen Guang's big heart. Previously, this guy's confidence was so strong that it almost broke through the sky. Everyone thought that he came prepared. Unexpectedly, in the next second, he might be drawn out to compete, but he still didn't know the rules of the competition. This is the end. Come on, stop talking nonsense. The rules are quite complicated. It can't be explained in a few words. Chu Zijin stopped the topic. She felt anxious for Chen Guang. Chen Guang also sat upright and listened attentively. The first group of contestants has drawn their lots. Contestants, please come on stage quickly. The two of them were about to start chatting when the name list of the first group of contestants appeared on the main stage outside. There were a total of 100 people. Chen Guang's name and contestant number were impressively first. There really wasn't any shady deal. Even if there was a shady deal, they wouldn't be stupid enough to put Chen Guang in the first position. This was completely a coincidence. It could also be the curse of fate. God also couldn't bear to see him being too cocky and deliberately gave him a head-on blow. It's over, there's no time. The contestant list and number were synchronized to the contestant lounge. The temporary host cum assistant Chu Zijin looked up and saw Chen Guang's name. Her face turned pale in an instant. The contestants who have drawn their lots, please come to the main stage as soon as possible. The competition is about to begin. The voice of the assistant host came from the loudspeaker. One after another, contestants got up from the large lounge and walked out. Some of these people looked confident, some panicked, and some confused. Some put their hands together and prayed secretly. There were also some with their heads held high and their noses pointed to the sky. In an instant, it was really 100 different expressions of life. However, many people turned their heads and looked in the direction of Chen Guang. They wanted to see his expression. Although others were unwilling to admit it, he was the main character today. All right, forget it. I'll deal with it as it comes. I'm leaving. You can't really be planning to compete like this, right? What else can I do? I've already drawn my lot. I can't deliberately push myself back just because I don't know the rules of the competition, right? Wouldn't that be a joke if word got out? Chu Zijin pointed at her phone. You have a live broadcast here. Actually, we've already set it out. Chen Guang was speechless. Hello, everyone in front of your TV and computers. Welcome to the competition segment of this year's World Language Conference. This competition is sponsored by Bubu Fei Lighter. Bubu Fei Lighter will light up wherever it doesn't know how to. This competition will also begin now. Next, let's welcome our first group of contestants onto the stage. The youthful and beautiful host said in a loud and clear voice. As her voice fell, the first group of 100 contestants, led by Chen Guang, filed out from the backstage. These 100 people followed the signs that had been set up on the stage in advance and found their positions, forming a square formation. Looking at Butler, Park Chang-nam, and the others below the stage, who were sizing him up with playful expressions, Chun Guang was very displeased. These two rascals were seated contestants, so they didn't need to participate in the first round of preliminaries like him. It was just that he was a little displeased to be standing there, not knowing what the competition was about. Although his face was brimming with a confident smile, his heart was quite perplexed. If he had known this would happen, he would have taken it more seriously. He was a little flustered. Forget it. Since things had already come to this, there was no need to think about those trivial matters. All he had to do was smile. He grinned and gave the camera and everyone in the venue a confident smile. Contestants, please receive the answer boards and pens from the ceremonial lady. The first round of the selection will be a multiple-choice question. In the following round, all contestants will listen to short sentences of the world's major popular languages. Then, the answers to the multiple-choice questions will appear on the big screen in front of you. Please write down your answers within 10 seconds, press the answer button, and then raise the answer board in front of your chest. Every contestant will be eliminated if they get one question wrong. This will continue until there are only 10 contestants left from the 100 contestants. As the preliminaries focus on the major popular languages, contestants who specialize in minor languages can choose to participate in the revival round after being eliminated for the first time. They will have a second chance. In this round, we did not choose an electronic answering machine. This is to ensure the absolute fairness, impartiality, and openness of the competition. The competition process will be fully supervised by the Beijing Public Integrity Department. The results of the competition will be jointly recognized by UNESCO, the World Language Association, and the Beijing Public Notary Office. Chun Guang nodded inwardly. I was scared to death. I thought I would really have to ask and chat with each contestant one by one to see how many languages each contestant knew. How much time would that waste? The current rules were pretty good. It was suitable for him to be the first to answer and show off. It could also send some people who wanted to try their luck home first. It also left a chance for the unpopular language specialization contestants to revive, so they would not be the subject of ridicule. Next, please listen to the first question. As soon as the host's voice fell, there was a sudden burst of extremely noisy sound from the speakers in the conference room, accompanied by the low growls of several old men. That's right, it was heavy metal rock music from the German band Chariot. At that time, some of the faces of the 100 contestants turned pale. What the hell? There was jubilation in Chun Guang's live broadcast room. The competition committee is so F***king sinister. How can they use heavy metal rock as a test question? Will they have to play Jay Chou songs later? Even the Chinese won't understand it. Okay? The audience in front of the TV was also whispering. It was obvious that this seemingly ordinary competition had ill intentions. The first question was so crazy. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.